was way more disciplined than he was the first time around and in 2020. So most of the time he was on message. I think that's a credit to Susie Wiles, who is like straight as they come and kept him pretty much on the straight and narrow. The controversies that came late in 2024 on the campaign trail were mostly of people around Trump, you know, at Madison Square Garden, etc. But it wasn't Trump himself. I think there was a lot of goodwill around Trump after he almost got killed twice. You know, let's not forget there were 2 assassination attempts. And after the first, there was a lot of talk about how we really shouldn't say all the false things about Trump. It kind of could endanger the man. And after the second, which was too close to Election Day, all that was still out the window, and we were back to Hitler, 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 fascist, 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 which had the same effect as the raid. You know, it angered a large section of his base. And then there were those of us who had been more political for years who were like, okay, sure, he's Goebbels. Right. Anywho, I mean, it just completely eliminated the power of those names and words. So anyway, I think he did fine. He was more disciplined. There was some controversy. It, in general, wasn't created by him.
I mean, was there power too in that, in the criminal charges and the allegation, you know, the claim he's a fascist? And he says, you know, I am going to basically get revenge on your behalf. They're coming after me because they want to get to you. I mean, what is that part of that message that he has? Does that resonate with voters? Is that part of what wins in the election?
Very much so, because that's not just made up. It's not just, I know Democrats will roll their eyes at that comment. Like, no, they're coming after you because you behave badly. But you have to understand the experience that Republican voters and right of center voters have been having over the 4 years of Joe Biden. They don't want to see journalists arrested in FBI raids at 5 a.m. in their underwear because they were trying to get their hands on stolen merchandise, Ashley Biden's diary. Hello, it's totally legal for a journalist to get stolen goods. The only thing that's illegal is if you orchestrate the theft. And the left understood this perfectly well when it was Sarah Palin's emails that had been hacked. The New York Times published them all. They didn't do the hacking, they received the goods. Let's do this then. They don't want to see journalists like Matt Taibbi suddenly get audited by the IRS when he's speaking out against government censorship. They don't want to live in a censorship regime where they say, I think COVID probably began in a lab as a result of an accident, and before you know it, their Facebook account has been shut down. It had been too much. It's 4 years of a growing authoritarian approach to government in the land of the free. And so when Trump says that, like, I'll get them, they are going to come after you, and I'm standing in the way, we believe him.
Because it's personal.
It's personal for all of us. I mean, all of my mom friends in New York City are leftists. And bit by bit, person by person, I mean, 3 of the most ardent Biden supporters who canvassed for Biden 4 years ago have now been red-pilled. They are to the right of me. I mean, they got the hats on. They have been totally red-pilled by the government overreaches around COVID and the transition. It's not all about Trump. You know, I know the media and many on the left see everything through the prism of Trump. But a lot of what's happening right now that helps Trump is the cause of Democrats, including Joe Biden and the policies we've been living with for 4 years now. And they see Trump as the antidote to these problems.
So you interviewed him in the fall of this year?
The fall of 23.
Of 23?
Yeah, a year ago.
A year ago. And was that your only interaction with him after he left office, or had you seen him at all?
I had seen him just prior to that in July of 23 at a Turning Point event down in Florida, where it was just a glad hand. You know, we said hello. It was fine. It was cordial, and I asked him then for the interview, and he said he would do it.
And when you interviewed him, what was he like at that point? Any different?
Different from when I had seen him in July, because now, you know, the nature of what we do is adversarial. So I could really like you, and I could be in your corner, and I could be preparing to vote for you, but if you're a politician and you sit across from me, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to ask you some tough questions because it's my job. Hello, the more in the media should do that. Anyway, sorry. So it got a little awkward because I gave him a couple of gimmies in the beginning, like Biden's too old, right? Yeah, he's too old. We did that. And as any good interview had an arc. There was a crescendo and a decrescendo, and the crescendo was about the lawfare. And I gave him a couple. Like some of it is obvious BS. But the one area in which even I did not think it was BS was once Trump got that subpoena to return those documents down in Mar-a-Lago, he needed to return the documents. That's just the way the law works. And if you go back and look at that interview, I had it on that. I had it. And it was the one time he got out of Dodge and said he wasn't going to answer. So that was kind of fun, just as a journalist. Well, he didn't appreciate it. And it was a little tense after that. You could see in the interview he started to get a little bit more insulting, as he'll sometimes do in an interview. And when it was over, he told me MAGA was not going to like the interview. And, I kind of shrugged my shoulders and said, so be it. Thank you for sitting with me, Mr. President. And we did okay. He kind of held his fire for a couple days and maybe even a couple of weeks. And then I did an interview with Glenn Beck in which Glenn asked me whether President Trump was losing anything mentally. And I said he's great. He's doing fine. But there's no question he's lost a little off his fastball from 2016. And then he let me have it. It's fine. I mean, you could argue I deserved it. That's fine. We're in the arena. I can take it.
By that point, you knew who Trump was, and that he's going to fight back.
Of course.
The other thing that's interesting, I mean, your career, you guys meet on Fox News. He's sort of famous back in 2015 for using cable news and calling in and using it as a way to get attention. And by the time you get to 2023, 2024, he's apparently realized podcasts are a way to reach people. You've moved into a different medium. How does he, as this former reality TV star, as a guy in his 70s, recognize the changing media environment and use that?
Well, I mean, I think Trump, for sure, is a media genius, but I don't know about new media genius. I mean, this is a younger man's game. But what we read in the papers is that Barron Trump and J.D. Vance and some others around his inner circle were the ones telling him, you got to do these podcasts. The ones that he did late in the campaign, I mean, the ones that were more appealing to young male voters. And they were 100% right. And that is where you go to find young male viewers/voters. So I think that may have come, very close to home for Trump. But yeah, to your point, even back in 23, he sat with me for a lengthy podcast and he knew what my numbers were. Somebody had told him, so he cared enough to ask. And, he likes exposure. And you do reach a totally different audience on podcast. I remember Ben Shapiro once telling me that when he walks down the street, if he gets stopped by somebody who's over 65, he knows they know him from Fox News. And anybody under 65 could be Fox, but more than likely, the younger you get, it's podcast. Even though now it's changed. I mean, I have a lot of older viewers who consume the podcast and the YouTube in particular. Anyway, Trump was smart because it's a different audience. That cable news is almost entirely seniors. And so if you want to cast a wider net, you should do podcasting and YouTube because it's a totally different collection.
Did you think it was a mistake at the time for him to reach out so specifically to young men? And do you still feel the same way?
No, I thought it was a great move. I thought it was a brilliant decision. He went where his voters were. He went where he could develop new voters. Even before Joe Rogan, which, there's in podcasting, there's Joe Rogan and then there's the rest of us, even those of us who are doing really well. So it's a no-brainer to go on Joe Rogan if you get the invitation. But the other ones he was doing, like his Sean Ryan interview, his Theo Vaughn, it was hilarious. And they weren't talking politics for a lot of these. They were just talking, Trump talking to Theo Vaughn about Theo's cocaine use was one of the funniest, most entertaining clips. Trump switched into interviewer mode. He was like, oh, what does it feel like? Trump, this teetotaler who doesn't drink, has never smoked, of course doesn't do drugs. He's genuinely curious about what this feels like. And there's something charming about it, right? He's searching in an area that people find really entertaining, especially young guys. We're already, I think, in a bromance with Trump because of a lot of things. His toughness, his ability to fight, his willingness to. But also, Trump is and represents a backlash to the messaging around men and what a man is and should be. in a really profound way. These young guys, including my friends, young Democrat sons, young liberal sons in New York City, red-pilled too. Why? Because they do not want to go to another Women's Month celebration, Pride Month celebration, Trans Month celebration, and self-flagellation every morning before class about how bad America is and how bad white men are. They're done. And so Trump, back to the middle finger, is their guy. Trump is unapologetically masculine. You could say toxic. I wouldn't say that, but just brash, strong, and he's got the tie, the suit coat. He's not wearing like the pants that are too short that show your naked ankles, and he doesn't have a man bun. He's not on a scooter. He's not eating kale. To the contrary, he's eating only McDonald's and chocolate and Diet Cokes. There's something old school American male about him that I think really resonated with these young men. They just needed to get to know him a little bit better outside of the media filter that was so negative about him. And once they saw him with guys like the ones I mentioned, I think the bromance flourished. It blossomed.
I mean, this goes back to the question, too, the other side of it, to the question you asked him in the debate. Were you worried about alienating women, about that part of the campaign, about the things from Madison Square Garden?
I thought Madison Square Garden was too brotastic, and I said so the next day on my show. It was just too much. It was like guy after guy after guy after guy making really crude, negative comments. And I'm not a Kamala Harris fan, but about her personally that were offensive, and just some really graphic terms, and it was too much. It wasn't really even about that comedian for me. I mean, I'm Irish, so I'm unoffendable, but just abrasive. It was abrasive, and I just thought, this is a mistake, because I know they're not winning the female vote, but why be intentionally alienating to it? It would be great if you could peel off some of those women. So yeah, there was a little risk around that. I thought it was too much at one time, that at a point in the campaign that was important and that had a lot of visibility. But in general, I know a lot of Republican women. A lot of Republican women. And I think they have the same longing for that old school American male. And I don't mean like the chauvinists of the 1950s who only see a woman as like a stay-at-home mom and never capable of anything outside of the home, or, we can only be secretaries, we can't be the lawyers, all that. I don't mean that. I just mean a masculine man, a man who wants to protect you, a man who will stand up for you, a man who will open the door for you, a man who will stand up to your child and say no, as opposed to, well, we might want to rethink our choices. A strong American, red-blooded male. I think there are a lot of young women and old who still find that very desirable, and when you see it, especially as a young woman who's on college campuses these days, I've talked to a lot of them, that you see it, it's like, what is this thing? It's like the Marlboro Man of today, and Trump benefited from that.
You go out at the very end of the campaign and express your support for him. Do you reach out to them? Do they reach out to you? Was that a hard decision?
They reached out to me, and it was a little hard. Not because I wasn't supporting Trump, I had already said so on my show, but because it was a line cross that I'd never done as a journalist. And it was just sort of the culmination of my new career, where I am still a journalist, but I'm also a pundit now and a podcaster who offers her opinion a lot more than certainly I ever did when I was just a straight journalist or even on the prime time at Fox. But I had been edging on it for quite some time, telling people who I was going to vote for, that I had never done that either. And the thing that made me do that was Biden's changes to Title IX, and what a disgrace they were to women's rights and to the due process rights of young men on college campuses. And it was that day that I said openly, I'm voting for Donald Trump. And from that point forward, was it such a big bridge to cross to then say, and I think you should vote for him too, and here's why, right? So I talked about it with my husband quite a bit, like, should I do this? What do you think? And I just kind of realized I'm in my own lane now. We're reinventing things, those of us who are in this digital lane. And I don't have to follow anybody else's rules anymore. I'll put my interviews, especially of these politicians, up against anyone's in the business. But when it comes to my opinion and my advocacy for what I think is right, I'm free now. And so I really felt a calling. I genuinely felt a calling to do it. And so I went there that night, and it was actually kind of funny because I was supposed to speak before he spoke, but then they told me they were running late, and instead he was going to call me up. And all I could think was, I don't know what that means. Like, have I been bummed, and they don't have the heart to tell me? And then a couple times during his remarks, he referenced me. Isn't that true, Megan? You know, and I was like, did they mean he's gonna call me out instead of call me up? This is so humiliating. I announced on my show that I was gonna be here, I was gonna speak. I brought my family. I thought my kids might find this cool. And now I'm just embarrassed. All my media brethren are out there, they're gonna be like, ha, ha, ha. So I was relieved when he said, come on up here. And at that point, I don't even know what I said. It was just, I was relieved that I hadn't been humiliated, and I spoke from the heart. And when it was over, I felt exhilarated. I felt exhilarated that I was able to say exactly what I wanted to say at the exact moment it needed to be said in front of the exact crowd that needed to hear it. It's a very special, unique feeling.
So this brings us back to where we started, which was election night, and we talked about how sort of remarkable it was, this comeback that he had. I mean, when you look back now at him as he's coming into office, I think the film's going to air the day after inauguration. What does it mean? I mean, I'll make the question that broad. What does it mean that Donald Trump is coming in with a second term at this moment?
You know the whole norms and institutions cry from his first 4 years? That's the new, listen to the experts. We're done. Norms and institutions are a thing of the past. The wrecking ball is back, and this time he and his supporters mean business. Things are going to get wrecked because they need to be. We cannot have a DOJ and FBI that more than half the country distrusts and see as politicized against them. The rule of law will fall. Absolute, abject reform must happen at those agencies. Putting Bobby Kennedy atop HHS is the greatest middle finger in American politics. It's so beautiful. Putting Jay Bhattacharya at the head of NIH, who they censored, who this isn't speculation. Francis Collins and Anthony Fauci openly emailed to each other. We know it from the House report and the release of the emails. Said, we've got to get him. We've got to tell people that he's a fringe doctor, offering fringe opinions when he said, maybe we should do focused protection, keeping like the elderly and most vulnerable out of the public sphere, but let the kids go to school and the young, robust adults be out in public. That's what Jay Bhattacharya's sin was, Stanford professor. Martin Kulldorff. Now, these are Harvard, Stanford. Fauci, Collins unleashed the howitzers on them. And now putting him in charge of the organization that did that, all of this is, we're done. We're going to shake things up for real. And we know it's bureaucratic and it's going to be really hard. And you're going to fight back and you're not going to like it. And the bureaucrats think that they have forever jobs that can never be messed with. Guess again. At least this time, we're going to go down fighting. We're going to go down swinging. The fighter will be saying, fight. He's going to put Elon and Vivek in there to try to find, yes, waste, fraud, and abuse, but also just government bulk that doesn't need to be there. People who are paying their salaries off of our tax dollars and doing nothing. They just want to feel important in Washington, D.C. Why are we funding them? Why are we sending billions upon billions to Ukraine at this point when we know what's happened over there? It's sad, but the war is lost. We've got to cut the losses and stop the bleeding, and that money needs to stay here domestically. That's why Tulsi's there. That's why someone like a Hegseth is going to be there. That's why Trump is there. That's why JD is there. Things are going to change, and I think they're going to change a lot. And I think in a year into Trump's presidency, he's going to have high approval ratings, and he's going to have won over, not the left, who can't stand him, and they can't see him clearly, But those middle-of-the-road voters who just thought, I don't like his behavior, it seems like he doesn't have the character of a man I want in the presidency, those people are going to say, you know what? Real change came, and I like it.
So my last question. On this life journey, because we'll have traced him over his life, I mean, why is that different? Why is he different now than he was in the first term? What is it about Donald Trump, the president, that's different this time?
Well, I don't think we're getting Mr. Rogers, so prepare yourself. It's not like he's had some bump on the head and emerged to somebody super kind and gentle. That's not Trump. But I do think, having spent a fair amount of time with him over the past year here and there, I do think he is a little more reflective. I think he's a little wiser. I think he would love for him to create a legacy for himself that is a bit more, seen as a bit more benevolent and unifying even, and beloved. He would love it if he could do that. And let's not forget, this is another bone for the Democrats to chew on, who are feeling blue about his win. Trump's basically a Democrat. I mean, he lived his life as a Democrat. One of my questions for him at those early debates in 2015 was, when did you become a Republican? And then he governed as a moderate. His rhetoric is not moderate, but his policies are. The thing that really scares the left is abortion. What's going to happen? Okay, he's not going to do anything on abortion. There will be no federal abortion ban. There will be no federal abortion ban. Period. He will govern as a moderate, and he will do things like he did in the first term, like this Anti-Sex Trafficking Act and possibly criminal justice reform and tax policies that lead to the greatest surge in minority job growth and real income than we've seen in decades. All of this is hopeful, exciting, promising news that could come as an elixir to the people who are upset about this, if only they will be open-minded to it and allow it to filter into their lives. You can fight the guy on the things you want to fight him on, you should, but the days of just demonizing him as Hitler, as the resistance, I think that needs to end. Fight, do your thing. That's America. Great. You shouldn't give up your principles because this guy won. But just stop with the over-the-top rhetoric, the lawfare, the extraordinary measures, the impeachments to try to take down the duly elected president. Because I think Trump comes to this open and willing to please even his enemies.
Your dog is suffering.
I am wounded. Looks like the mission area is yours to capture now.
Maximum pulse! Behold the god of thunder!
This is just one of your tricks. Stabilizer. Not going anywhere. Double kill! They captured the mission area!
Now, a disappearing act.
Our foes draw near.
You're not going anywhere.
Your dog
Dragon
is suffering.
That's better.
By the eye of Agamotto!
A disappearing act.
Behind us.
Maximum pulse!
Their team's captured.
Beholds the god of thunder!
A little pick-me-up.
Control lost.
Surrender your strength. The wounds are gone. Thanks.
They've almost got it. You're up, little one.
Time to drain.
Shake it up. Here comes trouble. Help.
The moon against the world.
You'll have to keep fighting until we have a winner.
This is real firepower! Surrender your strength. Love battlefield medicine. Dog is suffering.
Maximum pulse! What's a stretch?
At least I didn't wake up in the crazy house again. Khonshu guides me.
The multiverse offers endless possibilities, but only
30
if it
seconds before you
survives
attack.
this chaos.
Get ready.
Hey, I'm watching you. Make one move I don't like, and I'm dropping you on the spot.
Ooh, a threat. How exciting.
The battle starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All you need to do is capture the mission area. Got it?
Battlefield, sing war.
Getting stronger already. Now, a disappearing.
Beholds the god of thunder!
Looks like the mission area is yours to capture now.
Be right there. You're under my...
They captured the mission area.
Reborn from the... Be right there. Now, a disappearing act. That's better.
Us against the world.
By the eye of Agamotto! Executioner!
That was some bad. All patched up.
Judge! Jury! Executioner! Maximum!
Potato. Their team's capture progress has passed the halfway point. I like the cold.
I'm doing this my way!
I'm good to go.
Be strong together. I don't have to leave. Oh,
Maximum pulse! Beholds the god of thunder!
they've
the god of thunder!
I'm making a comeback.
I am
I suck.
This is real firepower! Ready for a boost?
Well, you can't expect to win them all.
Let's just start. I'm going to go back to January 2021, but let me just start with where we'll start. The film, which is sort of a cold open, which is he wins the election.
Right.
He's sworn in for a second term as president. I mean, how remarkable is that in Donald Trump's life story that here he is again?
I mean, it's unbelievably remarkable. This is something that's fairly, it's something that we haven't seen in American life for 130 years or so. A former president coming back and winning a second term after being rejected by the voters. So it's extraordinary, like in the scope of American history. I think it's particularly extraordinary for Donald Trump. This is not someone who was a professional politician his whole life. He was, a real estate guy in New York. He was a reality TV show a star, and he became president the first time in this surprise win. And now here he is, and he's back, especially after, a series of things that happened in the interregnum that I think the expectation was that they would be disqualifying for a future in American public office. And it turns out they weren't.
I mean, and for him, well, as I said, we won't talk to you about his life story, but his whole life story is about his dad and winners and losers and feeling, rejected. What does it mean, do you think, from what you know about Donald Trump, to him to have this victory, to be taking the oath of office again?
I think it's not just a validation, it's a restitution in some ways. He never believed that he lost the previous election in 2020. He always believed that was stolen from him. And now here he is, and he's back. And he's going to be back in office and, in his view, reinstated as president.
So let's go back to January 21st, 2021. Where was he at that moment in his life as he's left Washington and is in Mar-a-Lago?
Well, I think he is coming off, he's in the middle of the COVID pandemic, which he was panned for his response at the time. People thought he had failed to really help the country get through that. He had been rejected by the voters. He had sort of left Washington a little bit, it wasn't clear what the future would hold for him. It wasn't clear if the party, there was a sense that the party was going to move beyond Trumpism, which had really remade the Republican Party into something else. It wouldn't be what it was before, of course, but it would be something new, something that moved beyond him. And I think he headed to Mar-a-Lago with a sense that this was sort of the end. While he believed the election was stolen, that this could be the end of his political story. He was cast out of Washington. His family was cast out of their position in New York society. There wasn't really a question that they would be coming back here. New York had sort of rejected them. And that's how he sort of had headed down there.
It's hard to remember now how the consensus in Washington was that he was done.
Yes.
Republicans, donors, the media. Biden wasn't going to talk about him. What does he do in response to that exile?
He leaves Washington in total disgrace. He had led, in a way, or rallied his forces to do this unprecedented thing in American life, which is storm the Capitol. And this was something that a lot of the nation at the time watched in shock. I mean, people remembered. It was shocking to see people storm into the Capitol gates. This wasn't an image that, we were accustomed to seeing in America. This felt like something that you'd see in, somewhere else in the world with a less stable democracy. So he leaves Washington. Even members of his own party had turned against him. So he leaves Washington really in disgrace. And he flies back to Mar-a-Lago, being cast out of not only his home in New York, the liberal city, which had, of course, sort of rejected him and rejected his family, but also really the Republican Party, which was eager at that point and thought they saw an opportunity to turn the page from Trumpism. I think the old guard was hoping to reclaim some of their values. They knew the party wasn't the same as it had been before Trump, but they were hoping to sort of reinstate what had long been these conservative tenets, these principles of republicanism, like hawkish foreign policy or fiscal responsibility, things that were really jettisoned during Trump's term in office, and sort of move to this new era where some of those old values could be preserved, that left Trump in the dustbin of history. But that, of course, is not what happens.
I mean, is there something about Trump, because in the film told the story of his bankruptcies and coming back from them, and he's come back from Access Hollywood. Is there something about who Donald Trump is in that moment that allows him to start this remarkable return to the White House?
Yeah, look, I think Donald Trump is someone who has defied all our norms. He has transformed what we have thought is acceptable in politics. Access Hollywood, the tape that would have easily ended the career of almost any other politician, but it didn't end his career. His bankruptcies have certainly ended those kinds of bankruptcies have certainly ended the careers of businessmen who were far more solvent than Donald Trump, but they didn't end his career. He is a master of reinvention, and he's really a master of getting people behind him. And I think what he knew he had was, and what he's always believed in, was this movement behind him. And he began to sort of lean into them. He's never been someone, at least in his political career, he's someone who's always believed in the power and force of his base, rather than feeling this need to expand his coalition. So what he does during this period is he leans in hard to those people. He distills down to just his most trusted loyalists, people who really he feels are with him, and he starts just hammering away at this idea that the election was stolen, and builds really resurrects his political movement out of that, what is effectively a lie.
One of the turning points that some people point to was the raid of Mar-a-Lago. I mean, can you help me understand what happened that day and as we look back? Or I mean, even just where it fit into the campaign, because it's not just the raid, there's all of these cases, criminal cases against him.
He starts facing a series of criminal inquiries in 4 different states. So he's fighting across 4 different court cases on a host of matters. And there's a sense, again, that this is not something that's survivable. We've never had an ex-president investigated in this way, of so many criminal counts, dozens and dozens of criminal counts. And I think what he realizes is that the way out of this is politics. That the only way, this next election, he of course says he's running again fairly quickly, and that this next race for the presidency is not only a race for the future of the country and the future of his movement, but whether he remains a free man.
It is an amazing moment. He comes out at the courtroom of New York, and I think he says the voters are going to render her impeachment verdict. I mean, what is Trump bringing to it when he comes out before the cameras and he says something like the ultimate verdict is going to be rendered by the voters?
He makes himself as a symbol of what a symbol of what the voters want. That he becomes someone who's saying, "I'm fighting not for me, but for you. And my punishment is your punishment, and my vindication is your vindication." Of his movement, of his supporters, who are already people who feel aggrieved by what they see as sort of an elite establishment that's left him behind. They're people who feel that they can't get ahead, whether that's economically, that the culture is turned against them, that they're looked down upon culturally in some ways. So he sort of channels that grievance, which has always been the center of his political appeal, into his own cases. And he makes it about his fight is their fight, which is an extraordinary transference, of the criminal inquiries that he faces.
I guess the image of that mugshot, which you see on T-shirts and signs.
Yeah, it's really an extraordinary thing that his mugshot goes viral as the image of this movement that he's fighting for. Like he's fighting for his own innocence. He's fighting to avoid extraordinary criminal penalties and to avoid jail time, the possibility of jail time. But he takes that mugshot and he turns it into an emblem of this mysterious they, the elite media and universities and Democrats and government is trying to, put you in jail, his supporters, rather than him, which is in fact what the court is prosecuting.
He does have other people who run against him in the primaries, and he has to win the primaries while all this is going on. Do you think that that's how he manages to?
Well, there was this theory, right, in the primaries that, I think a lot of Republicans saw him. There was a fair number of Republicans early on who said Donald Trump is an electoral loser for us, for our party, and they were looking at the previous elections, which is Donald Trump and his people he have endorsed have lost or underperformed effectively in every election from 2016 on. So in the 2018 midterms and special elections, certainly in the 2020 presidential race, there was a series of defeats that some Republicans attributed to Trumpism, effectively. So I think there was a sense that if they could consolidate the parts of the party that had some questions about Donald Trump. Either they had some still lingering concerns. They didn't like what happened on January 6th. They never really liked his style. They thought it was divisive. They were interested in turning the page to someone new. Donald Trump, of course, would be the second oldest president in American history after Biden, the man he was expected to run against. So there was this thinking that if those people, those Republican primary voters who had either opposed Trump or had concerns about him could be consolidated behind one candidate, that they could defeat him for once and for all in the ballot box and get a different nominee, and the party could move beyond Trump. But of course, that's not what happens.
And why?
Well, I think he had this really strong hold on about 40% of the party, plus or minus, depending, of course, on the state and the primary electorate and all of that. And that hold was so strong that these are people who are going to show up for him. And they did, of course, in the Iowa primary, it was freezing. Like, I remember being in the hotel in Iowa and I couldn't go out. It was so cold, the highways were frozen over. It was like a historic cold. And they turned out for him. He not only had 40% of the party, he had the hearts and minds and the fierce loyalty of 40% of the party. And that other 60% never found someone that they all could consolidate behind. And I also think with every conviction, with every court case that came out, he grew stronger. That there was a sense among rank and file Republicans that he was being persecuted or punished. They really dismissed a lot of these cases as sort of ginned up things that weren't... part of that was because the weakest case, what people thought was the weakest case, came first in New York City with Alvin Bragg. But there was with every one of these things, he raised more money. He had these financial boosts, and he really consolidated his support. So what you would expect to happen, yet again, Trump defies what we expect, right? What you would expect is if you have a presidential candidate who is facing criminal convictions, you would expect their support to drop. But that's not what happened at all. His support only grew.
Once he's secured the nomination and he's going up against Biden, and the assassination attempt, and he rises from it, and it becomes another iconic image.
Yeah, and I think it plays into this idea that he worked to cultivate in this interregnum period between what will be his 2 terms, that he is persecuted in some way, that he's saying things that the mainstream doesn't want you to know, or the liberal establishment doesn't want you to know, right? That first they're trying to get him in the courts, and now they're trying to actually shoot him, right? So it sort of all ends up fueling the argument that he laid the ground to make when he returned to Mar-a-Lago back in 2021 that he is fighting not just for his own freedom, but for all his supporters, and to free them from this, like, sort of, you know, he's representing their grievances and what they see as an unfair sort of economic and cultural, a country that's tilting away from them in some ways.
He gets up after being shot and he puts his fist in the air and he says, "Fight, fight."
He knows a moment, yes.
I mean, tell me about this, how he knows a moment and how and just the importance of that image.
Judge, jury, executioner.
I think he's someone that understands, like, he was on television for a long time. He understands the power of a moment and the power of a meme and how something can be taken and, you know, sort of transformed into this moment of resistance in some ways, and that's what his supporters really see they're doing. They see this, you know, especially coming out of COVID, right, which is, I think, something we don't always talk enough about in this election. There was this sense of that the government had gotten too involved in their lives, the mask mandates and the vaccine mandates, and that, you know, they were being oppressed by this Biden administration. And so Trump standing up there and holding his fist and saying, "Fight, fight, fight," really plays into that very idea, this sense that they are resisting some kind of government overreach and oppression that's governing everything from, you know, their health care to what they can say to how their businesses can operate. So he's really playing in some ways into, like, these, well, he's not directly talking about immigration or the economy. It's playing into, if not like the central issues, but the central, like, thematic sentiment of his campaign.
I mean, Elon Musk was probably always going to get involved in the campaign, but he got publicly involved right after the assassination attempt, and there are other people who come out and say he looked strong in that moment. I mean, was that a sort of a tipping point?
Oh, that's I mean, I don't know. Like, we don't see the numbers move after that point. It's not like all of a sudden there's this groundswell. I mean, who knows if the polls were, but they were not terrible, right? But there's not this groundswell of support to him after that. But I think what he needed to do was get everyone in his base to turn out and expand a little bit. And he was able to do that. And so I think what it does, like, this was always a campaign that really played to the base. You know, he never tried to moderate at all. Like, he was really, it was striking to me how little he reached out to Nikki Haley's supporters. Like, traditionally, you have a primary against someone, it's contentious, and then, you know, the nominee brings the party together and welcomes those people into the tent. And Trump really never did that. Like, he saw his expansion as happening with new voters, with people who maybe hadn't voted before. And so he had always leaned so hard. This whole campaign was really predicated, their path to victory was really predicated on expanding their base and strengthening their base. And I think what that image did, well, we didn't see a major shift in the polls at that time, it certainly, like, reasserted his hold and strengthened his support among people who were already inclined to vote for him and needed to turn out for them to win.
Do you know how he responds, or the campaign responds, to the moment where the person that they think that they're running against, who they think that they've, you know, humiliated, drops out, and he's suddenly running against them?
Well, he has a lot of trouble adjusting at first, right? And you see it. Like, you know, Trump is coming out and he's talking about how it's unconstitutional, which of course is not true, for the Democrats to replace Biden. He almost seems like he misses Biden at some point. And they try to effectively run the same playbook against her that they had against him, that she's weak, that she's unfit, that she's, you know, being controlled by other people maybe. And at first it doesn't hit right away. You know, Democrats are so overjoyed, and there's such a pent-up release of anxiety for Democrats who were so worried about whether Biden could really bring this thing home that I think that party just has a lot of energy behind it, and Trump is really struggling with how to attack her. He certainly doesn't know how to deal with her race or her gender. We see that really quickly when he speaks before a group of black journalists, and he sort of questions her racial identity, which lands fairly flat, not only in the room, but a bit more broadly. I think he's rebuked for that. And he really seems like he misses Biden in a way, that they had prepared to run against this guy. And they were also prepared for a race that was far less competitive. Before Biden dropped out, you know, people in Trump's orbit were almost gleeful at the prospect of expanding the map into places that we generally don't think of as competitive states anymore, like Virginia, you know, that lean Democratic. So this was a big adjustment, and it took a little time.
It's sort of remarkable when you look back at what we were talking about during that fall and what he was doing, because it did look like suddenly he's got a new opponent. A lot of people feel like he lost the debate. Yeah. There's a lot of questions about you know, how long he's going on. I mean, help me understand that period, and was there a sense of crisis? Was that from the media looking at it? Was there a sense of crisis inside the campaign in that period going into the fall?
Was there a sense of crisis? I think there was a sense that this was going to be a really tough race. There was certainly concern about his debate performance. I think in that period, it seemed like she was ascendant. She was coming off this really strong debate performance. No one had really known how well she would do. She wasn't someone for being the vice president, she actually wasn't someone that was known particularly well. And Trump was spending a lot of time going off on what seemed like these tangents, really, when he had such a short period. This was a 107-day race. And so he really had to spend every day he wasn't defining her was a day that he was effectively losing. And he wasn't defining her. He was sort of meandering around different things. There was one point at which he said he was the king of IVF. He was talking about all these different issues that weren't really defining her. And he, of course, had seemed really weak in that debate performance. And I think there was a sense that this was, when we're seeing it a little in the polls, she seemed to get a bump, and there was a sense that she was headed towards, if not a victory, you know, it was going to be hard fought, but eventually headed towards a victory. They also, you know, they didn't have any money, right? They were lagging way behind financially, while Harris's campaign was just raising money in extraordinary sums, like very, very fast in ways we hadn't seen before. And so there was a sense that Trump, you know, could lose for sure.
What's remarkable about that period and might be informative about his presidency is the way that he reacts to that moment that maybe his own campaign advisors see as a sense of crisis. Because it doesn't seem like that they don't turn the ship around 180 degrees or pull the alarm. I mean, how does he react to that sense among, you know, even some of his own supporters?
He does what he always does, right? He leans into his base. He doesn't moderate. He doesn't do outreach. He doesn't, as I said, he doesn't reach out to these Nikki Haley supporters. He leans into his base. He embraces his message, and he does what Trump has always done, right? Which is sort of like, I guess, believe that he can change the landscape in some ways, you know, that he can defy expectations.
Does that tell you something about him, about who he is as a politician, as a leader, that he doesn't seem to adjust or apologize?
No, he doesn't adjust. He never apologizes. What does that tell us about how he's a leader? I think he sees apologizing as weakness, and he believes in always projecting strength.
What does it tell you about America that it worked, that his campaign? I mean, why did it work? Right? We've just said all of the things that she seemed to be having strength, and he is. I don't even think you can say he's doubling down. He's continuing what he had been doing, appealing to his base, and maybe expanding to these young men, as you said. I mean, why does it? It's ultimately going to be successful.
Right. Why does it work? Well, I don't think there's one answer to that, right? I think it works for a bunch of different reasons. I think the Biden team had failed to sort of understand and recognize and address the economic difficulty that people were facing, not only because prices had gone up because, you know, inflation. They kind of kept saying, well, inflation is slowing. And that's true. Inflation had fallen back down, but the prices didn't go down. So in terms of how people felt, the economy felt hard. Things cost more than people were making. And you add in the cost of childcare and elder care and all these other things. And I think they never adequately addressed that for people. I think they failed. He understands things about media, and he always has, and a way to dominate media. We saw that in the first in 16, where he was sort of got all this airtime on cable news that effectively allowed him to spread his message. And this time around, he went a different route. He understood where his voters were, that they were listening to these podcasts and they were on social media, and he was able to sort of get those people because he's always understood that about how to sort of work the refs and work the media and find his supporters. So I think that contributed to it. And in some ways, I think Democrats hadn't really reckoned with how Trump had really transformed our politics. Like, he has moved the country on certain issues. Immigration is really the most illustrative example. Like, Democrats moved to where he is in some ways on immigration. They took a more, they turned on immigration some. They took a more oppositional stance to immigration. And that sort of shows how Trump had changed the foundation of our politics in some ways. So in some ways, he had shifted the playing field in ways they hadn't realized, both through the media and also on some key issues.
It's really interesting. It's interesting two ways about the podcast, because I was just thinking as you were saying it, like, he knew the tabloid media in the 80s. He figured out reality TV. And he's a 78-year-old man who yet still gets something about there's podcasts going on. He still is adjusting to...
Yeah, he's able to adjust, and he understands, or at least is open to the idea when it's brought to him of where his supporters are and where, what the front edge is of reaching people.
It's real political.
Yes, it's real.
So let's go to...
My time to shine.
Let me ask you one more thing. I mean, what is he promising? There's another part of his message, which is becoming increasingly relevant as he's running, which is that he's been prosecuted, and there's a sense of, I'm going to get back.
The retribution.
Yeah, help me understand what he's telling voters as he's running.
I mean, that's one of the biggest questions, right? He's being really clear that he is going to go after his political opponents, right? And that includes a broad swath of people. And what I thought was one of the most remarkable things in the final stages of this campaign is Democrats broached this line they had never broached before with him. They had run and won basically every election since 2016 by rallying their base against Trump. That the most powerful motivator in the Democratic Party for so long had been Donald Trump and opposition to him. But in this race, they breached this line that they had never crossed, which was to call him a fascist. And they had never really done that. I mean, in terms of elected politicians, certainly Democratic grassroots, people like that had done it, but not someone who was running for president. And Harris does it. And he doesn't defend himself, and he doesn't say, no, I'm not a fascist. In fact, he leans in and embraces more his promises of political retribution. He's talking more and more about the enemy within. And some of the moments that I thought were the most remarkable in this final stages is he does a couple interviews on Fox News and with podcast hosts, and those people say to him, you don't really mean this, right? The questioners who are conservative, of course, say, maybe you can explain what you mean by the enemy within. You don't really mean you're going to go after your political opponents. And Trump says, no, I do. In fact, I mean Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi. So he is really explicit about his promises of retribution. And she is really explicit with the American public about explaining what this is and what it would look like. And in the end, America decides that they vote for him anyhow, that they're okay with this in some form.
It's amazing to think about his biography. And you said this before, but he would manage to merge the attacks on him and make it feel like the attacks on his supporters, in the sense that if he's getting retribution, he's sort of doing it on behalf of his base.
His retribution is their retribution in some ways, is how he's sort of projecting it. Whether people go along with that, if he pursues these plans in office, remains to be seen, of course. There is a question of whether voters quite knew what he was setting up for. It's interesting, when you would go and talk to Trump voters, they would sometimes say, well, he doesn't really mean that. He's not really going to weaponize the Department of Justice. He's not really going to deport 19 million people. And in some ways, that's another one of his strengths, is that he can say these things and people really don't believe it. And this is something we saw in his first term. After he won in 16, there were a number of focus groups that they had with supporters where they asked him, they asked the supporters, do you think Trump is going to overturn Roe? Do you think he's going to defund Planned Parenthood? And in these focus groups, the Trump supporters said, no, he's not going to do that. He's not even opposed to abortion rights. And of course, he did appoint the justices who did exactly that, which we know broad swaths of majority of the public didn't like at all. And I think there has been in this election a little bit of that same sense where you talk to Trump supporters and they just don't believe that he is going to follow through on these plans. They think it's being blown out of proportion by the media or by the Democrats. And now I guess we'll see, depending what this incoming Trump administration does. And we'll see how voters react if those things become real.
So that brings us back to where we sort of started, which is he does get that re-election, and this time a win in the popular vote. He's, as you say, he sort of said explicitly what he's going to do. I mean, what does that victory mean to him? Does he see it as a personal vindication, as a mandate? How does he see it?
They see it now. He sees it as a personal vindication and a mandate. That they see this as a bigger win than last time, than in 16. That voters wanted this, and you can see that he feels liberated to basically put in only his staunchest supporters. We see with the picks that are emerging for his cabinet that these are people who, under a traditional, what we assume about these positions, are fairly unqualified for these roles, and in fact, in some cases, have sort of ethical conflicts that would disqualify them for the positions they've been put on. But what they have been, is fiercely loyal to Donald Trump, and so he feels empowered to do that, not to bow to anything, any force in Washington, any force in the Republican Party. And in fact, he's entering a Washington that's really different than the one he entered in 2016. His opponents in the Republican Party are largely, they've retired. Some of them have become Democrats. Some of them, like John McCain, who famously, voted down his efforts to sort of gut Obamacare, are dead. So he doesn't have the same level of opposition within his own party. He also has a much friendlier Supreme Court, thanks to the appointments he made in the first term. So he feels, and of course he has the House and the Senate and control of those places. So he feels a lot more emboldened and a lot more restrained. And, the political dynamics are such that he probably is right to feel that way.
Do those appointments or those nominations tell us something about what he is prioritizing in his second term?
I think what he's prioritizing is loyalty to Trump, to himself, and to his movement.
What are the implications of that compared to his first term in the way that this what we're going to be coming into, and the film's will air the day after the inauguration. What does it tell us about what to expect?
I think this is going to be a lot of upheaval, even more. I think people remember the first term as a very chaotic period, and now I think he's coming in and he feels stronger, he feels more emboldened, he's particularly invested in those who are most loyal to him and to his movement. And so I think that's going to add up to an administration that's willing to push the bounds on a lot of what we thought was sort of unmovable in Washington.
One of the things you said was that that the Democrats didn't realize that he had changed politics. So let me ask you a question sort of for the end of the film, because here's a guy who walks in the political stage in, say, 2012 and wins in 2016 and in some ways shadows Biden throughout those 4 years, who comes back, who now is looking at another 4 years. I mean, what imprint has he left on American politics? Is this the age of Donald Trump?
I think he's completely upended American politics. For almost a decade, Donald Trump has been the sun, and the rest of the American political system has revolved around him. Even Biden, in some ways, right? He established such a grip on the Republican Party and then transform the Democratic Party in some ways because they've been remade by their reaction to Trump. And we saw that happen, particularly in 2020 when they were responding, I think, and how he was handling the pandemic, which might have been a bit of an overreach that they paid for potentially in this past election in 24. So he's really upended so much about American politics. He's certainly remade the Republican Party. I mean, the Republican Party now looks looks completely different than it did before he came into office or before he sort of rode down that golden escalator in 2015. Their values are different. Their ideology in some ways is different. The issues they sort of take up are different, that they focus on. I think he's done the same for the Democrats. He's upended that party, and now they're deep in the wilderness, having lost to him. They need to find a whole new generation of leaders and figure out what it is that they are and what they stand for. That's really an open question, how Democrats will respond to this administration. It's not going to look like it did in 2016, their version of opposition. I think they're really demoralized. Democratic voters are exhausted. And I think he's really changed what we thought as infallible norms in American politics. If you think about how people talk, even just the language they use, not only the threats like we were talking about earlier, but just the profanity. I mean, before Donald Trump, it was you really couldn't swear when you were running for president in the same way. And now, you see that across the board. You couldn't attack the media. I mean, certainly people argued with the media, but this open assault on the media, really from both parties, that's something new since Donald Trump came on the political scene. So he has completely remade American politics. And also I think what voters see as survivable, like what voters will accept in terms of a personal scandal, an affair, or paying for, some kind of corruption with special interests or something like that. I think he's really bent the norms of what he's really transformed what voters will accept in their candidates, and they'll accept a lot more now.
It's hard to predict what will happen. I won't ask you to predict.
Oh God, please no.
Predict the future because it's everything.
Yeah,
the moment is expect. But what is the challenge that he's going to face now that he has won this victory, that he's coming into the presidency a second time? What do you think is the question about his second term?
Well, he has to govern, and governing is hard even if you control both the House and the Senate. I think he made a lot of promises to people. They're going to want to see prices go down. They're going to want to see some action on immigration, which is an issue that has, bedeviled every president for decades at this point. I think people are expecting him to deliver on some of these promises, and that's going to be hard. They want him to cut government spending. It's not as easy as Elon Musk thinks it might be, right? To just sort of slash big cuts out of the government without people feeling negative impacts in their own lives. So I think what's going to be hard for him is actually governing, delivering on some of these things, and there's a question of whether people really want the kind of vision that some of his allies are pushing for. Like, how far do they want the country to go when it comes to political retribution, or deporting millions of people, or taking steps to further limit abortion rights? It's not clear that people necessarily want these things and voted for these things. So that's also going to be a challenge, what the American public will accept.
In some of the cases, what he's up against too is to accomplish those things is his own style, is his own way of operating, is who he is.
Oh, you mean because he'll turn people off? Or
I mean, he's Donald Trump. He responded to COVID in a certain way. He responded to the crisis of the election in a certain way. And I guess this will be the test.
This will be a test. Oh, and foreign policy, right? He promised to end all these foreign wars like in a month or whatever. He end all these foreign wars very quickly, and that's not so easy. Like, the Middle East is another issue that's sort of bedeviled every president for decades. These are really thorny, intractable problems abroad that he's promised to solve right away. And, the question is whether he can sort of push these foreign leaders into what he wants, and it's not so clear that his style will wear as well on them.
Red dot means take cover. This is getting stronger.
Ooh, there's Sir Fujikawa. These creatures obey Moonlord's every command.
Awaken the rage of power.
I am barely armed. I am ready to put on a show! Just in time. Thanks.
Enemies on approach.
Friends, gather around! Don't let anything stand in your way. Us against the world! So cold. Get that beetle moving again! I wasn't sure we'd get this chance again.
I am Asgard's might.
We're supposed to be closer to Bhutan by now.
Lights out. Welcome to the Dark Force dimension.
Fear not, spider hero. We will protect you.
Get ready. Here come the bad guys. I'll get you next time. Time is up. It's spider time! Cool king.
With the stretch.
Keep your tentacles up beyond the lower.
I am getting that vehicle moving again! You needed some help, didn't you? I am ready to put on a show!
You gotta feel, Candy.
Only 60 seconds left! My time to shine!
Crisis averted.
Us against the world! Everybody needs a hand sometimes. Down to 30 seconds. You better finish this out.
I am Asgard's might.
Giant green bananas here.
So close! This is your big chance!
Lights out.
Final 10 seconds! The current score is 3-2-0. Time to switch things up, including which side you're on. We are Cloak and Dagger. The right heroes could make all the difference. I'm Luna Snow. Like the moon, I shine in darkness. Round 2! All I ever wanted to do was sing, really. They'll be coming in 30 seconds. Stay strong. Be your best self.
You are Midgard's goddess of squirrels, are you not?
Goddess? No. I'm just a girl, and these are just my furry little friends who happen to take my everything.
I too am proud to call a squirrel my ally.
The battle starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You have to stop them from securing the mission area.
The nest of spiders. 'Twas but a scratch. I have destroyed the spiders.
Be your best self.
I'm wounded.
My life energy grows stronger. I was worried.
I suck. I'm finding our groove.
A storm of acorns. Well spot. I am barely wounded. For
Blow up.
Oh boy. Here they come!
I suck. That one hurt. Usually I love it.
I am ready to put on a show. Friends, gather around.
I am ready to put on a show.
mine enemies crumble.
My life energy grows stronger. I don't have to be center stage. I like the cold. Focus on the battle. Be strong together.
Oh, they do not look happy.
That one hurts.
'Twas but a scratch.
Oh no! They're gonna be so mad at me. Chin up. I was worried.
It's spider time!
Behold that child! A feast for my crows! How? You're frozen!
What touch it?
We're finding our groove. Blow up.
Only 60 seconds left.
I like the cold. Shake it up. Our enemies are here. I am healed. Shake it up. Enemies better be
Down to
real.
30 seconds.
I like the cold.
I am ready to put on
That one.
It's the grand finale. Final 10 seconds. We are undefeated. Double KO.
Needs a snowball in the face.
Pulse charge, fire!
We'll have to keep fighting until we have a winner.
A nest of spider bombs. Snowball fight. I am ready to put on a show.
I'm Heather here.
We're finding our groove.
There we are.
I need you. I like the cold. You seeing stars?
I am Asgard Knight.
Bringing the boom.
Final score: 3, 2, 0.
Monies so far. So you pick the only 3 black things on there. The only 3 black things on there you picked, and you neglected all the other stuff, including the big one, Pride Month. Out of all those events I mentioned, Pride Month is the biggest and most profitable one, I would assume. But you ain't mentioned that, did you? So we know what the media does. They're there to just put forward a narrative, to lie, to mislead you, to gaslight you. That's what they do. So yeah, hey, and I feel bad for her right there. Like, why they even bring you on? She didn't say one word during that segment about those days allegedly being canceled, which again, they're not. Why all women? You know why all women. That's that woke stuff. Okay? We gotta be, hey, we got Jose Diaz-Balart. And you know what? Hey, matter of fact, Jose Diaz-Balart. We talk about him right quick. Now look, this is also an example of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Okay, so we need an anchor for this MSNBC show, some of the weekend stuff. All right, let's get an Hispanic person. All right, but this guy's clearly white, but it counts, right? He's Cuban. His name, he speaks Spanish. So we got a minority, you see? We're talking about DEI and programs that quote unquote help minorities. It doesn't mean black people, it doesn't mean you or I. It doesn't mean us. It means guys like this. It means women like her. It means women like this. That's when they say diversity, that's what it means right there. Not black men, not really black people. They got a black woman there on a black topic and she couldn't even talk. Most DEI woke positions are filled with white women. And now because a lot of the white guys are becoming transgender, it includes them too. Haven't we seen the swimming with Leah Thomas? Okay, Leah Thomas, a full-grown white male, is now seen as a minority. You see how that works? It's not for us. It's for them. But then they'll say all this stuff. They talk about MLK Day, Black History Month, and Juneteenth to use our past, to use our pain, to use our history in this country to push forward their narratives. Okay, so Miss Conor McGregor's grandmama, so she can succeed. It's not for me to succeed. Anyway. So yeah, shout out to the white liberals who want to use black pain and trauma to advance their own narratives and to put more money in their own pocket. That's how that works. Same thing with the slavery, the migrants. It's never been no different. Let's use that group, put them down here to uplift ourselves. They've been the same from the very beginning. They have not changed at all. And if you think that they have changed, tell me how. Tell me how. I can't tell. I cannot tell. All right. Oh, Bernie Sanders. This might be kind of an older clip. But capitalism and whatnot, a lot of the liberal people. Oh, but that's to fight against all the crime. Bernie, you want to fight against millionaires and billionaires, but you yourself are rich beyond most people in this country. So how'd you get rich, Bernie? How did you really amass your wealth?
Now, how did I get the money? You're right. I wrote 2 best-selling books, including this book on capitalism, which was New York Times bestseller for a while. And also another book was a youth book. And I make, I don't know, $175,000 a year. And that's more or less how I became the zillionaire that I am. Now.
So there we go. Hey, you know what? You know how I got money? I got my little base salary. He almost said that's like Vegas money. He almost said that. I heard you. Hey, Bernie, I heard that. Hey, I heard that. I make $175,000 a year. That's just like, you know, little trick money right there. And my real money comes from the books that I've written about capitalism. Imagine that. Imagine writing books about how bad capitalism are and becoming rich that way. So you pretty much finesse the system. You engaged in capitalism by speaking about how bad capitalism is. Funny how that works. So yeah, shout out Bernie. Shout out Bernie. Shout out to all the politicians. Now, speaking about spending money, wasteful spending, here is a more recent clip. I might play this before, but I gotta play it again. Trump talking about some of the things that we're gonna spend money on. And I think Doge has been able to cut like 1.3 billion from the federal monies so far.
We identified and stopped $50 million being sent to Gaza to buy condoms for Hamas. 50 million. And you know what's happened to them? They've used them as a method of making bombs. How about that? We stopped an attempt to make an illicit payment for illegal alien resettlement. We canceled $181 million in DEI training contracts. This is just for the training of people in DEI, which has been terminated and completely terminated. And we paused $1.7 billion in unauthorized payments to foreign organizations, including stopping more than $40 million that was on its way out the door to the very corrupt World Health Organization, which has not done its job and not done it properly. We also blocked $45 million for diversity scholarships in Burma. 45, that's a lot of money for diversity scholarships in Burma. You can imagine where that money went. These were the types of payments, and many others. I could stand here all day and tell you things that we found. We have to find them quickly because we want the money to flow to proper places.
Right on. It's good to have leadership back in the White House. Leadership. Okay, we got to have leadership. And this whole thing, this whole DEI stuff, a lot of it is a thing that will repel leaders from the workplace. People that could become leaders who are already doing the thing right. It's a focus on just optics. Same thing like LA County, prime example. Okay, where are the leaders there? Where are the leaders? When you don't have true leaders, and you have people playing leaders, people trying to pretend like they know what's going on, there's going to come a time where you're going to be tested. And if you're not prepared, if you're not a leader, you don't have those qualities, you're going to fail the test. And when you fail tests as a leader, people could die as a result. We've seen these plane crashes, or at least the one plane crash. We've seen quite a few things. The LA wildfires, it's countless stories of people in power, people in office, people in leadership roles not being able to truly be leaders. That's a problem. Now, here's an old clip of Mr. Barack Obama. Okay, I'm not quite sure when this was. Oh, 2007. There we go. So this is pretty old. This is way back in the day. This is before he became the president, of course, like right before, during the campaign trail. He became president in 2008, beating out Hillary Clinton for the nomination. And I don't know why they tried to put Hillary Clinton out there. I don't know why they thought in 2007 that we ready for a female president. We're not. A lot of the women that I know said, I would never vote for a female president. A lot of women I know tell me that. So let's hear what Barack Obama says.
I think we should have strong border security. It doesn't make sense for us to allow hundreds of thousands of people coming through our borders without us knowing who they are. Oftentimes in very hazardous situations and unmonitored situations that could do us long-term damage. I think we should have a serious employer verification system where employers, when they hire somebody, find out what their work status is. Are they able to work legally? Right now, what employers will say is, well, we check their social security card. That's the best we can do. So we got to set up a tamper-proof system and then hold employers accountable. You pay a fine, you learn English, you stay out of trouble, you've got a job. You go to the back of the line so that those who came here illegally, that backlog is cleared before you have opportunities for citizenship. That is a reasonable approach.
So what happened? Like, what happened to this guy? What happened to this guy? I don't really understand. Like, what changed? What was the moment that said, you know what? Things that I said on the campaign trail before I became the president, I'm kind of going to go back on that. Just like the whole thing with,
Might be a good time to stop them.
what was that? The whole thing with gay marriage. Said he didn't want to do that, but then he became the first LGBT president. Allegedly. Allegedly, he became the first LGBT president, but in policy, he most certainly was. See, one thing I like is when someone running for office, regardless of what it is, it could be dog catcher or president. What I like is when somebody says, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, then they do it. I like those who follow up on their promises, man of their word. Be a man of your word. Don't date and switch, promise one thing and then do something else. I don't like that. I do not like that. All right, and shout out to our brand new White House press secretary. Shout out to her. Hey, she's great. It's really refreshing. Corinne Jean-Pierre, Jen Psaki could never.
January 27th, 2025, ICE Chicago arrested a citizen of Guatemala who has been convicted of solicitation to meet a child, disturbing, and sentenced to 24 months probation. On January 28th, 2025, ICE Atlanta arrested a citizen of South Korea who has been convicted of 9 counts of possession or control of material depicting minors in sexually explicit conduct. On January 28th, ICE New York arrested a Mexican national previously charged by the state of New York for attempted murder and possession of a weapon and assault. And on January 28th, ICE Philly arrested a citizen of Mexico who has been convicted of possession of child pornography. Our message is simple. If you are a criminal, illegal alien, you will be arrested and deported. January 27th.
Right on. So again, shout out to our brand new White House press secretary. What's her name again? I don't want to say the wrong thing. Caroline Levitt. Yeah, Caroline Levitt. Shout out to Miss Levitt. What, 27 years old, the youngest White House press secretary ever. So shout out to her. Very, very good. Now, compare and contrast what she just said to what the mayor of Minneapolis says.
Like the moon.
Jacob Fry. This dude, I don't know, man. I don't know what kind of men that these guys are. You're Jacob Fry, your Trudeau's, your Gavin Newsom. If there was a word you could use to describe these men, what would it be?
I want to speak directly to...
And of course you have Ilhan Omar right behind him.
People who are undocumented. We love you. We care about you. In the city of Minneapolis, we will stand up for you, and we will do anything in our power to help. Because you're not an alien in our city, you're a neighbor.
Before you attack. Get ready.
Now, in Minneapolis, we have what is called a separation ordinance. And that separation ordinance states clearly that our city officials, our police officers and beyond, will not be gathering information showing who is and who is not documented. We do not ask the question with regard to immigration status, and because we haven't asked the question, we don't have any data to show documentation status in our city. Our police officers will not be cooperating with federal law enforcement around federal immigration law. We enforce state and local laws here in Minneapolis, and we will do so to the best of our ability. But as for cooperation with ICE, the answer is no.
So there you go. Again, that is Minneapolis, Minnesota Mayor Jacob Fry talking about, hey, we're not going to cooperate with ICE. We're not going to ask any kind of questions or whatever. Now, if I was a citizen of Minneapolis, I'd be like, "Lo, you're gonna put us, you're gonna increase the safety risk for people in this city. Why would you do that? What's the purpose of doing that?" And shout out to the sign language person. Bro, was it that serious? Put your face all in it? I mean, hey, whatever. But yeah, Ilhan Omar, like, what does she do? What is her real role in Minneapolis? I know House Rep, but what do you actually do? Just get money, scheme, send money to your white husband, Tim Mynette? Okay, talk about how bad the white man is, but give money to your white husband so you can live high on the hog. Like, what's really going on? What's really happening? Hey, that freeze frame was crazy, wasn't it, Danny? So yeah, shout out to the freeze frame. Now, I'm not sure where this is, where this little shop is. but somebody got an ice-free zone sign on their business.
I am ready to
And of course it says ice-free zone. And I think it says we believe in the freedom of movement of all people across the world, no exceptions. Now, can I freely move into your house and take stuff in there? Why not? Or how about I don't take nothing? I just go inside your house. Maybe I use your shower, wash my hind parts right in your sink or something like that. No, but don't, hey, and don't call the police talking about, hey, is this big black guy in my house? Nah. You say you believe in the freedom of movement of all people across the world. So I want to freely move into your house. That's what I want to do. I want to freely move right into your bedroom. All right, hey, scoot, hey, bro. Hey, look, scoot over. Get these dogs out this bed. Scoot over. I'm your new roommate. I'm not gonna sleep downstairs. I'm gonna sleep right in your bed because you believe in the freedom of movement of people all over the world. I'm freely moving into your bed right with you, bro. Hey, and it's we can compromise. You sleep at the top, I'll sleep at the bottom of the bed. We go like back in the day when you were a little kid. Foot and head. We gonna do that. All right. So yeah, people just say stuff, man. I don't understand why they do it. They just say stuff. Oh, I want to play the sound from this, and you're gonna hear the kind of person that likes this.
See what they put on the sign? Period. Lush is really that girl. You see what they put on the sign? Period.
Alrighty, period. TikTok. Dance, TikTok. 2-second brain, TikTok. That's what I hear right there. Shout out to her. Okay, so we got a Chinese student getting kicked out. So a Chinese student who backs pro-Palestinian protests at UCLA just got her visa revoked and is heading back to China because she comes from China. All right, let's watch.
I don't have to be center stage.
Right, the little mask and all that stuff. Hey, Fang, you gotta go back. You have to go back. You have to go back. All right, so shout out to her. Hey man, I love seeing the deportations happen. Like I said, can we get a live PD situation? That's what I want to see. All right. And here's something else I wanted to show. The kids in the classroom get to do whatever they want to do. High school. Can I ask a question for you guys, parents, teachers, anybody? Okay. Are kids allowed to have their cell phones in the class? When I was a kid, I don't think cell phones were out. I think they were just coming out. They might have been just coming out. I got my first cell phone when I was 18. These kids now got cell phones when they're 5 years old. I can't relate. But I know you couldn't have any type of device like that. No kind of video games. We had like gaming systems. We had like the first Game Boy and stuff like this. You can't have that in class. A Walkman. Our thing was having Walkmans, a CD Walkman or a cassette player. You could not have that in class. How about the cell phones? Can you have those in class? Let me see. Nope. You had pagers in the 80s and the 90s in class. Would it beep when you go out and answer it or respond to the code? Okay, but look, UCLA got kids vaping in class.
Reservation wage was $600. That's what she decided. I don't think that people needed one of these. So what? I don't think that people needed one of these. What did you think?
See, now, okay, all right. See, that right there would get you tossed out right on your head. Ain't gonna be no conversations, all that kind of stuff. Like this behavior right here. Man, please. All right, you're gonna go to the office, and if you don't want to go, you want to be, beating your chest, tough guy. You're gonna get the football coach to come in there. You're gonna get the basketball coach to come in there and dump you upside down. I done seen that happen. They will dump you upside down. Hey, our PE coach come in there. His neck vault big as a tire on the F-150. I'm talking about he's all head and shoulders, no neck. You understand what I'm saying? He gonna come in there and you're gonna stop the nonsense, or you're gonna get tossed upside down on top of your head like a pogo stick. Boing. But yeah, that's what's happening right now. Kids are totally crazy. And my thing is, yo, you're at UCLA doing that. You're spending how much money doing that? You're an idiot. You should get expelled for doing something like that with no refunds. All right, let's go back to another mayor. This is Brandon Johnson, Chicago, Mr. Panic Attack himself. Panic Attack in the flesh. Now, he's talking about right now. I'm not sure what it's called, but the Luther movie with Idris in it, great. He's a great actor, very talented. I'm a big fan of Idris Elba on the big screen, small screen, or whatever. But here he is talking about politics, talking about trying to ban certain knives in UK because of all the knife crime. So, hey, let's take the point off of knives, at least a point at the very tip. But you still gonna have the serrated edge or the sharp edge. So rather than having a knife, you got a cleaver. All right, let's watch.
The truth is that kitchen knives are perhaps 25% of the knives used in most of the terrible crimes. That's one of the stats in the films. And those kitchen knives are usually a domestic situation. Okay. So kitchen knives, of course, it's very difficult. They're a domestic knife. I do think there is areas of innovation that we can do with kitchen knives. I hate to say it, not all kitchen knives need to have a point on them. That sounds like a crazy thing to say, but actually it would reduce. You know, you can still cut your food without the point on the knife, which is...
Okay, so you're saying that not all knives need to have a point. So what would the knife look like? Would it look like, hold on, let me show you what it might look like. Like a cleaver, basically, right? I'm thinking about a cleaver where it's a knife, but there is a point on it, but it's not a point at the top. Because, okay, how else can you have a knife with no point? It needs to be sharp because you got to cut things. So you're going to have a cleaver, so I can cleave you to death, but I can't stab you to death. But if I cut you with this, I can still stab you. I don't understand. It's just kind of weird. It's like, what are we saying exactly? A knife with no point? So a knife that's not a knife?
It's an innovative way to sort of look at it. And in a country in crisis, I'm sorry, but yeah, let's look at that. But the truth is, all knives, you know, the loophole on the heritage knives allows the sale of ninja swords to be sold. So while, you know, you've got your granddad's sword on there and you want that, that's fine, of course, but it is leaving a loophole for someone to carry a ninja sword. So let's ban them all, and if you have one of those knives, get a license for it. Simple as that. And I think it's a small contribution to society if you say, right, I'm going to back that. I'll get a license for my granddad's sword, because it is leaving you know, these kids vulnerable.
Okay, so there we go. So somebody said they have round knives. So would that be a round knife right there? But I could still slice and dice you with that. I could still give you $1.50 right on the side of your face with that. Anything, a razor blade, a cleaver, a knife with an edge on it, anything, any kind of sharp instrument can be used as a weapon. So it's just kind of weird to even say something like that. At the end of the day, what can you really do about knife crime? I mean, maybe some of the offenders just lock them up, keep them locked up, have enhanced penalties for some of these crimes that they commit. I don't know what else you're gonna be. I don't know what you're gonna do. A ninja sword, I guess, like a long, like a sword, like a one of them. I suppose. I don't know. I really, if you ask me that question, I can only guess. Your guess is as good as mine. I guess he means a knife with a sheath that can be, you know, retracted or extended. I suppose so. I guess that's what's going on. But hey, what do I know? All right, let's keep on rocking and rolling. Let's get to the DNC. You gotta show a little bit from the DNC. There was a DNC leadership forum. recently. And this guy right here is the new head of the DNC. All right, let's watch. So yes, a guy, the head of the DNC, doing TikTok dances. My thing is, okay, I understand trying to reach out to the youth, to the young generation, to the TikTokers. I get it, but can we be a little bit more charismatic? Like, if you're not that kind of person, this is just kind of cringe to me. But again, this guy right here is the brand new head of the Democratic National Committee. Okay, and his name is Ken Martin. As you can see right here, says chair of the Democrats, Minnesota DFL chair, Association of State Democratic Committees, ASDC president, proud Minnesotan. All right, St. Paul, Minnesota. That's your guy right there, Ken Martin, head of the DNC. All right, now they had some kind of event, I suppose. And it was cringe. To say the least, it was cringe.
In this round, so I'm going to I have a show of,
and this is Jonathan Capehart, one of the black guys they love showing on TV because he's gay and he don't mind crying at the drop of a hat. He's basically a woman that they put out there to represent black men. I don't like that too much.
How many of you believe that racism and misogyny played a role in Vice President Harris's defeat?
All the hands raised on stage, in the audience, they say racism and misogyny, that's the reason why Kamala Harris lost. Not because she was incompetent, a complete mouth-breathing, drooling moron who didn't know anything, who did poorly in 2020. And it's weird because Barack Obama was a president not once but twice. People love Barack Obama still to this day. And Michelle, Big Mike, they love Big Mike and Barry. They sure do. But those same people who voted for Obama not once but twice are now racist because they didn't want to vote for Kamala. Make that make sense. Maybe we don't see things based on color. Maybe we see, hey, this is a competent person or an incompetent person. I don't care what color they are, what gender they are. If they're competent, great. If they're not, we're not going to vote for you. And that's it. Kamala might be a perfectly nice neighbor to have in your neighborhood. Her and Doug might be totally fine. They might come through with that Indian food, playing some of that good music, playing all that good music, right? Having the good old time. But when it comes to becoming the president, that's a little bit different. I'll come to the house with the good food. You could cook. You could bring Mindy Kaling with you. Have a good old Indian auntie time in the kitchen. That's fine. But I don't want you to be the president.
Okay. So that's good. You all pass.
Bro, you just take the clippers to your head, no shape up. Bro, just cut this off because if I just let my hair grow, it might look like that, right? Because I'm an old man, I got testosterone or whatever, it might look like that. Just shave that off, man. Literally, just shave it off. It's okay, man. Join the club.
In this round.
But anyway, there's more. There's more.
Racism has not gone away since 20 people of African descent came upon these shores of Jamestown, Virginia in 1619, and it's going to require us to think and behave in a new way. It is systemic, it is structural when it comes to addressing diversity, equity, inclusion, access, and
her name is Quintessa Hathaway.
Belonging that is for all people of the United States, that must come across the voting line as well. This is everyone's America. Our story has a new form of glory that must come to our shores as well. Racism has not gone away.
Okay, so she was trying to become the DNC chair. They were like, nah, we're going to go and pick the white man. We're going to get the white man in there. Okay, the stiff white dude, we're going to put him in there. We're not going to put you in there, Miss Black Lady, okay? You or your wig, we're not going to put you in there. All right, now, she was trying her best to get in there. She was trying her best, okay? Again, that lady I just showed you was a candidate for the DNC chair. She didn't make it. They put the white guy in there. Okay. And look at the diversity right here in this panel. We got Conor McGregor's little sister, Jen Psaki, the LGBT black dude married to a white man, who's basically a woman, Jonathan Capehart. And then we have, who is that? I forget her name. Bald head black lady, not Ayanna Presley. Y'all know who that is. I forgot her name right now. Very diverse panel. Very diverse. Hey, would it hurt them to have a straight black male or a straight white male on the panel? Would it hurt?
We'll begin with the opening statements. Each candidate will have 30 seconds, and we'll start with Dr. Quintessa Hathaway.
Good evening, everyone.
We got the white guys right there. Okay, there we go.
It is my desire to be the next DNC chair. And I just want to give you all a little bit of something that's been on my heart here over the last couple of days. You fight on, you fight on, you fight on, you fight on. When your government is doing you wrong, you fight on, oh, you fight on.
Thank you.
Ma'am, no. Hey, hey, wait. I understand. Look, I get it. Hey, we gotta do something. Sing, dance, do a little jig, I get it. But look, maybe just come with qualifications, okay? I'm sure Mr. White Man that got the job didn't do none of that singing or dancing or none of that stuff. No skinning and grinning. That's crazy. Singing? Ma'am, really? That is not gonna work. I promise it's not. You need to just keep all of that over there. All right? Yeah, at least stand up. Let's get a little bit of music going. It could be a whole concert. Hey, put your hands together if you know the tune, and then go into the singing. You're just gonna start singing it at your. That's crazy.
I don't know, you fight on.
Thank you, Dr. Hathaway.
They laughed. That's crazy. They laughed at her on stage. Boy, oh boy, man, the Democrats. I promise. One thing about them, one thing I say about Democrats, they will never not give me material. They will never not give me material for my show. All I gotta do is just watch what they got going on. I got my material for the show. That's crazy. Exactly. She's your queen. I ain't gonna start singing now. Look, she got me singing now. Shout out to Coming to America vocals. All right, so now we got what's this? Jasmine Crockett. That might be Quintessa's stick girl right there. Let's see what she got to say.
I think that I've been somewhat effective. We also were able to get monumental legislation into the FAA Reauthorization Act that really flew under the radar, thank God. But this was funding to make sure that hopefully we can increase the number of African Americans and Hispanics that are entering aviation, which can be very expensive, but can obviously be very lucrative. And so we set up a situation where basically there will be full rides for those attending land grant HBCUs as well as HSIs to go into aviation. In this crazy anti-DEI environment, we were able to get that done because we were working with everybody that mattered. So I do want people to know that we are working. This is just one of those aberrations. I think.
All right, so there we go. Just trying to get. I mean, really, I couldn't care less about the color of the people. Let's just get the best people, regardless of who they are, to do the job. If pilots are 100% white, then so what? If black folks want to be pilots and they could do it, great. Hispanics, Asians, whoever could do the job, let's get them in there and get them flying. I want the best of the best behind in the cockpit. That's all I want, the best of the best. I don't want you being there questioning who you are, having a mental issue. I think if you think you're transgender, that should be off the rip a disqualification, because you're going to be in a very sensitive place. People's lives on the line. It depends upon you and your and your co-pilot. I can't have you with verifiable mental issues in the cockpit of the airplane. Simple as that. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what gender you are. I don't care what you identify as. I need you to be mentally sound. Mentally sound. And that's going to be 95% white males, and so what? So be it. So what? Don't care. Do not care. All right, let's keep on going. If you like what you're hearing so far, please give the video a thumbs up. Like the video, share the video, do all that good stuff that'll help me out tremendously. Okay, we got some border videos. You can see the border getting tightened back up. I love it. Let's watch. There was a caption right there. The caption says, Marines film reinforcing border wall near San Isidro, California. We got Concertina wire. Okay. Hey, one thing I love is some power tools. I love power tools. That's one of my faves. Okay, do some welding. All right, I love it. In the military uniform, I love it. Hey, one thing that I could have done is become a welder when I was younger. A friend of mine I used to work with, my man Steve. Shout out to Steve. Steve, coolest white dude in the world, man. He wear Timberland boots every day. Didn't matter what the occasion was. Hot, cold, whatever, Timberland boots. But he became a travel welder. Said he loves make a lot of money. Yeah, welding, that's fun. I can weld a little bit. I can solder. I can do all of that. I would have loved to be out there doing something like this. Oh, I would love it. If I could be out there welding the wall, oh, that'd just make me just be filled with so much joy. Joy. Yeah, shout out to the welders, shout out to the guys out there, you know, working with the tools. And we have more of the wall. We can see the presence right there on the river. All right, no sound in the video, but you can see the presence. We got border patrol, we got SUVs, we got trucks, we got the human beings, border patrol, lined up right there in the water. Come across if you want to. We ready. We got trucks lined up. We got the SUVs lined up. Not SUVs, pardon me. The ATVs lined up. Trucks. We got all of that. We're ready. I love it. And it's about time we had that. About time we had that, because for a long time in this nation, no border security, pretty much just saying, all right, come on in. The border patrol at a certain point were reduced to being escorts or tour guides for the illegal aliens coming across in the water. So I'm glad that we are getting that under control. And I saw a graphic. I'm gonna see if I can find that graphic right quick, where we can see just how much the border crossings have dropped since Trump came in. Oh, here we go. Look at this right here. Let me put it on the screen so you can see it a little bit better. All right, here we go. So look, you can see the crossings. Now, I'm gonna just do, all right, so it says daily encounters of undocumented migrants without repatriations and returns to Mexico in January 2025. All right, now, Biden's last 19 days average was 2,087 crossings a day. Biden's last 19 days was 2,087 crossings on average a day. Trump's first 9 days, 126 crossings again. Biden's last 19 days, 2,087 crossings on average per day. Trump's first 9 days, an average of 126 people per day. Big jump, big drop in crossings. One election, one administration, you see the difference. Oh, ABL walls don't work. You can't just say don't come here, they're gonna come regardless. I can't tell. Why did it drop off 94%? Why? Because the migrants know that the orange man's back in town and he don't play that. He doesn't play that. It's like being at your parents' house versus being at your grandma's house. You go to grandma's house, you can do whatever you want to do. Sometimes it depends upon which grandma. You know which grandma they'll try like that. Your one grandma may be kind of nice and soft. You can do whatever you want over there. Up all night, eating all the food, whatever. Other grandmas don't play that game at all. They will beat you like you stole something for the smallest thing. You know who you can play with and who you can't play with. You can play with the Biden administration, not the Trump administration. All right, so yeah, shout out to the Orange Man for getting those numbers up under control. All right, now we got the plane crashes. Here's my question to you guys about the plane crashes. Do you think that the plane crash in Philly is linked to the one in DC, or are they separate things? And let me just explain what happened. So the one in Philly that happened, what was that, last night? The one in Philly that happened, a plane took off and it pretty much crashed immediately. Almost like straight down, nose pointing straight down, and it crashed into an area that's populated in Philly. Now, unfortunately, all 6 aboard died, and 1 person on the ground died too. But it could have been worse. It could have crashed to a full apartment building. It would have been a disaster if that happened. But all 6 aboard. And the one from Philly, they were going to Mexico ultimately. The pit stop in Missouri. So they go Philly, Missouri, Tijuana. And they were in Philly because a small girl was getting medical treatment. So that was the whole point. It was like life-saving treatment. So they medevaced her from Mexico out there, and then they were going to go back. But unfortunately, the 2 pilots, paramedic, little girl, and 2 others died in the plane. Rest in peace, prayers out to the family. In DC, there was a collision between the helicopter, a Black Hawk helicopter, and a passenger jet. 64 on board the jet, 3 aboard the helicopter, if I'm not mistaken. May they all rest in peace, prayers out to their family. I think these are much different. The one in Philly appears to be a mechanical error on behalf of the plane. In DC, this was avoidable, in my opinion. So look, here's the crash in DC.
Well, you can't expect to win them all.
Now you can see how they were just on a collision course. Now the whole time they're on the collision course, air traffic control can see it. So they are both, the plane and the helicopter, are communicating with air traffic control. Air traffic control says, hey, you basically they're saying you are kind of close to the plane. Do you see it? Yeah, we see it. We got it. So the helicopter was given the authority to look out for the plane visually from the helicopter. Maybe they couldn't see it. It's at night, it's dark, but it's a bunch of lights everywhere as well. They have night vision goggles, but maybe since there was another plane in the sky, they saw the other plane and said, okay, we have enough distance from that, but they did not see the plane that was right basically in front of them. I don't know what else it could be, but I think we need to modernize air traffic control because there's been quite a few incidents like this that almost happened but didn't happen. A lot of near misses, a lot of almost, a lot of oops, a lot of that. And here's my question. If air traffic control can see that the planes are about to collide, why can't they say, hey, stop, evasive maneuver, ascend, descend, turn, something? Why can't they say that? All they said to them was, hey, you got it? You all right? You sure? Yeah, we got it. But obviously they didn't have it. So air traffic control, I think, might be the weak link, but I'm not going to say that they have bad employees. I'm going to say that the system needs to be updated. So what do y'all think? You think it was the pilot, helicopter pilot's fault? You think it was air traffic control? What do you think led up to this?
Like the moon, I shine.
And again, in the helicopter, you got 3 people, 3 crew. So it wasn't just the one pilot. You got 2 other people. So nobody saw the plane. I think this was air traffic control. Yeah, so let me see. Imagine that says Black Hawk helicopters can be remotely controlled by a human or autonomously. Well, they need to do. They should have. That should have been what happened. That should have been what happened. So a lot of you guys saying air traffic control, golf and guns say helicopter. They never tell us.
30 seconds before you attack. Get ready.
Combination of the two. So you think maybe the helicopter and the air traffic control?
Should I know who you are? No, but you should know magnetism.
Hold on, let me see. J.R. Williams says ABL, a colonel on Conservative Twin said they were short on second crew chief. What does that mean? For the air traffic control, for the pilot, for the helicopter? What does that mean? The little pilot messed up.
2, 1.
Byron says the DC crash ABL is a series of failures.
Got it?
I think air traffic control didn't do anything wrong. I don't think you could only point to the helicopter doing something wrong because they couldn't see the plane. But aside from that, I think it'd be air traffic control just not being as modern as it should be, because that if the FAA has the job of preventing mid-air collisions, of making sure that the traffic and everything goes right in the air, if that's their job, we keep having these near misses and mistakes and all this and that and the third, and now a collision mid-air in which people died. I think we got a problem we got to fix. I think we got a serious problem. 64 in the plane and 3 in the helicopter. We got a problem.
Be strong together.
Now, some are saying about the pilot, DEI transformer. I don't know. I've been hearing that, but I can't confirm it. So I'm not going to sit here and say that's what it is, because I don't know. I don't have the information. But clearly something happened. Now, here's Pete Hegseth talking about it like right when it happened. All right, because as you know, Mr. Hegseth is now, he's now replaced Lloyd Austin as Secretary of Defense. So let's see what's going on here.
Company 12th Aviation Battalion at Fort Belvoir. It was an annual proficiency training course. And when we look at the crew, we're not all team have been notified, so we're full ranks and names at this point. We do know on our side who was involved. It was a fairly experienced crew, and they was doing the required annual night evaluation. They did have night vision goggles. The 12th Aviation Battalion, as of now, is granted a 48-hour operational pause on contingency missions as what happened is reviewed. And a senior level aviation team, an investigative team from our Aviation Safety Center, was deployed last night and already is in Washington, D.C. to investigate what's going on. We anticipate that the investigation will quickly be able to determine whether the aircraft was in the corridor and at the right altitude at the time of the incident.
All right, so there we go. So as we know now, the helicopter was not at the right altitude. There was definitely a problem. But a lot of these issues shouldn't have happened because we have certain things in place to prevent it from happening. So the question is, why is it happening? And I think ultimately we gotta just upgrade some stuff. Gotta upgrade some stuff. That's just what it is. Now look, here is what they could see, just how close they were. If you see this in air traffic control, if you see this and what's going on, you can also see the elevation. So 350 feet and 400 feet, they're like right up on each other. So if you can see all that right here, then why can't you make some adjustments or suggest adjustments from air traffic control? You can see what's going on. You can see how close they are. You can see the elevation. So we got a problem, and it needs to be fixed. But again, RIP to everybody that was involved in that. Now here's the Philly crash.
All I wanted to do was sing, really. And let us know.
30 seconds before you attack. Get ready.
You can see that the plane going straight down, nosedive.
You on the side of the good
I mean, that's crazy. That's totally crazy. And again, that reminds me of the crash that happened in Virginia Beach back in 2012. I remember like it was yesterday. So in Virginia Beach, one of the military jets that crashed into some apartments, and nobody died. That was crazy. It crashed into the apartments. Right here, that was like, it crashed by a gas station. It crashed behind some apartments or houses, but it didn't crash into the actual living units. It crashed like on the sidewalk. It was a big crater in the sidewalk near a gas station. Okay, but it didn't crash into the apartments. Back in Virginia, they crashed into the apartments. I'm gonna pull up a picture of the one that happened in 2012 in Virginia. Yeah, that whole thing, it was a FA-18 back then. FA-18 crashed into some apartments. Let me see if I can find it, kind of show you guys the kind of jet that it was. Oh, these pictures are really crazy. I'm gonna show you a few things. Well, I'm gonna show you two things, and I might got a video as well.
That breaking news.
Okay. Before we get to a young David Muir, before we get to that, I'm gonna show you the pictures. Okay, so this is the apartment building that the jet crashed into. Again, this is 2012 in Virginia Beach. Because in Virginia Beach you have the Air Force, you have the Oceana, the base. So they're flying them jets all day long, and they loud. Out of the top of your head, they're real loud. Look at all that damage from that crash. Military jet, the FA-18, right into the apartment building, and nobody died. Nobody died as a result. Okay, and then look, you can see the jet debris right in the apartments. Look at that. That, what's that, the tail of the plane, whatever you want to call it, right there. And look, here's David Muir back in the day.
It was late today after that military fighter jet crashed right into a busy neighborhood in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Let's get right to the pictures tonight. The fuselage smoldering between two apartment buildings. The ejection seat that turned into a parachute for the two pilots. Both survived this. The seat now charred after crashing through a backyard fence. And all of this happened in a packed suburb, and tonight it is simply hard to believe no one on the ground was seriously hurt. Look at this map showing just how close this jet was to so many people on the ground. Those dots there, one a middle school, another busy highway, the third a museum. The crash site right there.
That's right there. That's right. Get close to the ocean front. That's right there. That street 264. Take that straight out. Go straight to the beach. So you're pretty much at the beach. You got museum. You got a lot of stuff right there. But the biggest thing is Oceana, the base that's close by, because the jet came from the base, and they always practice out there.
There in the middle. David Curley is in Virginia tonight to lead us off.
Just seconds after takeoff, the Navy jet was in trouble.
I looked up and the plane went straight up with no sound. Just the engines were gone. And then he went right into a dive. Then, boom, I could hear it hit, and I seen black smoke and instantly smelled jet fuel.
The FA-18 came crashing down onto an apartment complex.
The whole thing was in flames, the whole backyard. And then things started to explode, and that black smoke kept going.
A roof ripped off one building, others engulfed in flames. The initial crash then followed by explosions. Pat Cavanaugh on his couch heard the crash.
Got off the couch and went to the back door, sliding door, and when I looked out, I saw a pilot laying there, bleeding from the nose, and his parachute hanging from the building. I knew exactly.
Yeah, he was good. Like, so the pilot ejected. He was all right. The pilot got hurt a little bit, but the pilot didn't die. The pilot ejected and was straight.
What happened? The jet had crashed.
The pilot was laying on his patio, and neighbor Colby Smith, who felt his walls shake and his power go out, came running to see what happened.
Now look, you see the way they put out the fire? That's at Virginia Beach all day long. Surround and drown. Now, of course, you got a big fire, but any kind of fire, usually they're gonna surround and drown. That's kind of how they do out the beach. Like, I was going to become a firefighter in Virginia Beach or Norfolk, but Norfolk, they're going to do more entry into homes. But Virginia Beach, surround and drown all day long.
And neighbor Colby Smith, who felt his walls shake and his power go out, came running to see what happened.
And I saw the pilot, I saw the parachute on the house, and he was still connected to it.
These two men and others at the apartment complex became the first responders, running to help the two Navy men.
And the pilot said, "I'm sorry for destroying your house." And I just bent down and I touched him. I was like, it's okay, it really is, are you okay? He was like, "I think I am."
The pilot.
So yeah, some of those crashes could be really crazy. Again, that one was from Virginia Beach in 2012. I remember that very well. I was out there at that time, living in the area, not far from that. It was crazy. It was totally. And the thing about it is, you always hear the jets. It real loud. The jet noise is crazy if you're not used to it. But you always hear the jets, and sometimes you'll see them low flying. I'm talking about like right on top of you. The Blue Angels I seen the Blue Angels in person out the beach. Crazy. The things they do with them jets, you be like, how did they do that without crashing? So you kind of anxious a little bit if you're not used to the jets. You think they're gonna crash, and then what happens one time when they crash? It's a mess. All right, but yeah, shout out to everybody for being here. Appreciate y'all for joining. Let's get to super chats and some calls. The number to call is 434-658-1220. Again, 434-658-1220. Yeah, the Philly crash, I think it was more of a mechanical issue, and that's just my opinion. I don't have evidence to back that up. That's just my humble opinion, because after takeoff, it pretty much just went straight nosedive down to the ground. So what else could that be? Yeah, Eric Brown, Lynn Haven. I used to work out Lynn Haven. We had an office right there on Lynn Haven, right across from Lynn Haven Mall. So I used to always be out there. I used to always go to that Whole Foods out there on Laskin Road. Like that part of Virginia Beach, I would always be down there. I'll be by Oceana. You know, apartments right there by the base. I'll be over there. Down the beach, of course. Always on the beach. And all of that is like right there by Oceana. All right, let me see. Linda says, will the homeowners get insurance from the airline? Hope so. Off for the ball. I don't know how the whole thing played out but that was military, so I'm sure they were compensated for damage. Yeah, the military, yeah, they're gonna come through with that money, or at least they should. All right, let's keep on rocking and rolling. Hold on. So Trudeau announced a 25% tariff on American goods, or some goods. We'll see how that works. Tariff war, trade war. We'll see how that works. All right, let's keep on rocking and rolling. Where we at? Super chats on deck. Let's get to Qwerty UIOP, who says, talking about tariffs tonight. They kicked in today. They could take heed to the message. Who says, sir, love your content. Thank you for your comment and your support. Thank you to Teflon Don, who says, Trump has fired all of those FBI agents from January 6th, and the ones that raided his home, also more to come. Thank you to Ron Henderson, who says, hey, ABL, I make Black History Month every day. Right on. Praise God. Exactly. Thank you to Dolores Renteria for your donation. Thank you to LAJJ USA, who says, we are so done with Democrats using us as fools. 100%. 100%. Thank you to Abu Bakr Alpha Daddy, who says, apologies, ABL. I fell for the Aunt Jemima internet hoax, but it would be great if Aunt Jemima, Uncle Ben, Cream of Wheat, Chef all came back. Let's go. Thank you to Apple again, who says, ABL favorite action by President Trump so far, closing the border, because that was my main issue, was the border, the migrant crisis. That was my main issue. There's other issues, of course, but that was top of the list. So when he shut that down, I showed you the numbers where you can see we were averaging in the last 19 days of Creepy Sleepy over 2,000 border crossings per day. Under Trump, 125 per day. 94% decrease. That is nothing but success. Apple also says, ABL, Kennedy doxes Bernie for taking big pharma money. Thank you to Ryan Henderson, who says, the charity of America can be detriment of America. We need to slow our roll. Thanks, Donald J. Trump, MAGA. Thank you to Dolores Renteria again for your donation. Thank you to Apple, who says, Democrat senators complain that Tulsi Gabbard is unqualified. That's so aggravating. Tulsi's an Army Lieutenant Colonel, 3 tours in combat. She's Wonder Woman. Thank you to Kaius Washington, who says, DEI, CRT, DACA, and H-1B are responsible for the crashes. Thank you to Apple again, who says, please, Lord, Senate confirm Tulsi, Bobby, and Cash. Also, what's your reaction to Trump firing federal workers? Well, I'm not quite sure he's fired anybody yet. He's offered them the buyout. I'm with it. if the ultimate goal is to slim government down, I'm all for it. I'm all for small government. And you can't have small government with 2 million federal employees. Many of them do nothing. Sit on the hind parts and just get paid. All they do is sit on the hind parts all day and get paid. Look at the Kai Squashiness who says, I'm tired of all these trans terrorists everywhere. Thank you to Ryan Henderson who says, funny how law and order can clear the streets. Exactly. Thank you to Theo Jones who says, great channel. Thanks. Thank you for your support and subscribing, boss. Thank you to NS who says, represent, bruh. You got the great work. Hey, man, I can't do nothing but that. Thank you for your super chat. Thank you to Both vs. Windshield who says, will Ben and Jerry now make flavored cold cream? Thank you to LAJJ USA who says, enslaver was in Golan named Antonio Johnson, FBI. Thank you to Taylor Langley who says, FBI, have you seen the DBI Renton, Washington judge? Like multiple violent criminal migrants that assaulted and killed people out on a low bond and they fled. I haven't seen that, but I'm not surprised. I am not surprised at all. Thank you to Kevin Lowry who says, hope you do the stream again. Hey man, it'll be up after it's over, and we're gonna keep on doing the show twice a week, every Wednesday and Saturday. Shout out to Both vs. Windshield who says, planes, trains, and autos crash. Where's Steve Martin? Great question. Alrighty, let's get to some calls. The number to call is 434-658-1220. Again, 434-658-1220. There's also an email in the description. You can use that to be right here in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. Don't call and say nothing crazy because you will get blocked. But shout out to you guys for being here. And again, the number to call 434-658-1220.
Time to switch things up, including.
Alrighty, Skype caller, who am I speaking to?
I'm Luna Snow. Like the moon, I shine in darkness.
The right heroes could make all the difference.
So I wanted to call to talk about the thing that you said about Chinese people earlier, and I have to call to say that I agree that the Chinese government don't really have empathy for people, because in the Chinese culture, they teach you to have no empathy. They teach you to have respect for your elders and stuff, but they always teach you to like suppress your emotions and, you know, just work hard because eventually you'll succeed. And that it's really common in the culture to like mistreat each other, like in China and Taiwan, like any Asian country, like they just really preach hard work and they don't really show empathy towards people that will have like you know, problems. Like unless you're in the United States and you got family emergencies and all this and that and the third, they might have more empathy. But yeah, you're right, they're not really the most empathetic.
4, 3,
Yeah, exactly. So when people say, oh, the Chinese government, they're better than the Europeans, it's like, well, are they better? I mean, at the end of the day, they all want resources, they all want things, and some people don't really care how they get it as long as they get it.
Yeah, and then the other thing, you know, I'd like to say rest in peace to those who died in the plane crashes, because those were very unfortunate events. And you know, I'd like to also say that I'm glad that he's back in office. And then one more thing that I noticed on TikTok was also that there were a bunch of TikTokers saying that Trump blamed the plane crashes on people with intellectual disabilities when he said it was due to DEI policies. You know, and that for some reason that really just rubbed me the wrong way, because he never said that in his press conference. You know.
Yeah, they always lie. They always make stuff up, and then they say that Trump is the one that lies all the time. But really, that's called projection. You're saying the things that you do and acting like it's him doing it.
Yeah. And then, what did you think about the cute winter boots hashtag on TikTok, where a bunch of leftists were going on TikTok and telling the immigrants how to, quote, they were using a code word called cute winter boots to talk about how the immigrants could get firearms to, quote, not flip on ice. Code phrase for fighting immigration customs enforcement. Like, not sure if you heard about the Cucumber Boots thing. I mean, I'm glad nothing happened so far because they were trying to plan protests on January 29th and all that, but thank goodness nothing happened and they stayed in their house. But what do you think about that?
I've not seen that, but that kind of thing is a problem with TikTok, and that's why the government wants to control it, because you could just have these trends go viral where they are encouraging people to commit violence, and you can't have that. You can't have basically plans for insurrection to happen right there. You got to be able to stop it.
Yeah, I think these lefties who were using the cute winter boots thing and talking about fluffy dogs when the conservatives on TikTok caught on, these lefties who were trying to basically encourage violence towards ICE agents, they should be in jail. I hope the federal government, I hope the FBI tracks them all down and locks them up because they deserve it 1000%. Like, and I don't care if they scream and cry later on. Oh, I don't care. I think they need to be locked up 1,000,000,000%. I have no sympathy for them. It's a felony to be posting that stuff. That is not protected speech.
Exactly, 100% correct.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the call, man. Definitely appreciate you.
Yeah, and thank you for taking my call.
No problem. All right, shout out to the caller. You've been rocking and rolling. Number to call 434-658-1220. Who am I speaking to? 647 on the line.
Hi, can you hear me?
I do.
Anthony Brian, can you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay. I'm using text now and it's not working too well anyway, but thank goodness I'm in. All right.
Hold on. We got a bad connection. I can hear myself in the background.
I don't know what to do.
Are you on speaker? Like, what's going on?
Are you on speaker? What?
Are you on speaker?
No, I'm not on speaker. I'm using text now. The application called Text Now.
Yeah, it's not working too well. Try to call back normally.
I can't.
I'm sorry, boss, but it just ain't gonna work. Cause I'm hearing feedback and it's kind of choppy. It's just not gonna work. I'm sorry. My apologies. Let's keep on rocking and rolling. Let's go. 669 on the line. Who am I speaking to?
This is Gerardo Gomez in California.
Alrighty, man. What's going on?
Not much. I've been listening to your content for 2020. I appreciate it. You speak a lot of truth. Big thumbs up. I like it. I guess the point to my call is my mother, my father. I am first generational Mexican. They came here, parents. They immigrated the right way. I immigrated my wife the right way. I paid a lot of money. And, so it's unfair to us, that a lot of people jump the line. But one day I was debating with my uncle about illegal immigrants not contributing to the economy. And he pretty much convinced me that they do. Would you like to hear how?
Go for it.
So a lot of illegal immigrants, they get stolen security cards, stolen security numbers, and stolen IDs, and they work and they get a paycheck. And a lot of them, they don't want to report taxes because they don't want to be a blimp on the radar. So when they don't report the taxes that they earned or that they made making their salaries or whatever, where does that money go? Doesn't it go back into the economy? And there's many of them.
Okay, so what's the argument? That they spend money and it goes to the economy?
No, that they don't declare their taxes, and that money, that the tax returns that they were supposed to get, since they didn't declare it, that just goes back into the money pot, into the economy, because they never declared it because they didn't want to be a blimp on the radar as illegal. So therefore, they're contributing to the economy.
So is that how it works? If you don't claim your tax money, it just goes back to the economy?
I don't know. No one's explained to me. But
nah,
he had a point.
It don't work like that. If you don't claim the money,
So where
it
does
just
the money go?
it doesn't get sent to you. They keep it.
Who does?
The government.
Thank you.
I'm about to say, it's like, wait a minute, am I not hearing that right? Yeah, the government will keep your money if you don't take it. Nah, they ain't gonna just donate that to the local charity. They gonna put that right in their pocket and spend it too.
So it goes back to the government, right? To the government economy.
To the government. Well, I mean, I don't know what to do with the money because they might just set your money on fire. They might send it to Ukraine. Who knows?
Well, anyways, that's the illegals contributing to wherever the government wants to send that money to.
Okay, I mean, I think, I think that there's also the part of a lot of the illegal aliens are getting subsidized by the government. They're getting these magic money cards. So my question would be, like, how does it actually benefit the American? How does it benefit people that are here legally? Legal immigrants, people that are born here? How would it benefit us if the money that they...
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. I'm on our side.
Right,
I'm on the MAGA side.
Of course.
But the argument is that they don't contribute to the economy, which they don't. They're probably a strain. But when they don't claim that those taxes, and mind you, there's millions of them that don't claim taxes, all those taxes go back to the government, and the government just allocates it however they want to, but that's kind of like in the economy. And that's their way, well, not their way of contributing, but by default, they are contributing.
I mean, I can see how the argument can make sense, but nah. All the government going to do is keep your money and spend it on, they're going to waste the money. Like, that's the big problem we got right now is government spending. So it doesn't really matter until we get the spending under control. And then at the end of the day, I think as a nation, the benefit that they could have as far as contributing to some kind of money that the government will spend, it doesn't really make a difference when it comes to the American people. It's not going to make our lives better.
So let me ask you this. So let's just say that Doge, they cut a lot of government expenditure, and let's just say that the illegals, they're still not claiming their taxes. So whatever big government is not, that's being cut, then that pot that the illegals are not claiming, will it be used more efficiently?
Well, I don't know what kind of money that they actually generate compared to what we spend on them. I don't really know that answer. So, because here's the thing, though.
Well, let's just say hundreds of thousands. Let's put X, hundreds of thousands of illegals that work. I'm just going to put out Taco Bell, Burger King, or whatever business, like over the counter, kind of like let's just say a clothing shop or whatever. Just a mom and pop shop, and they get a check, and there's hundreds of thousands of those people, and all those people, they get a tax return because they're using stolen IDs, a bunch of stolen ID stuff, and they get a tax return, but they don't claim it because they don't want to be on the radar. They don't want to get deported. So all that money stays within the government, which again is somehow in the economy.
That's not really how it's going to work at all. Like, what's going to end up happening is you got to look at the total expenditures. Like, okay, let's just say that the money somehow that they didn't claim gets used by the government and it helps the country. Let's just say that happens. Well, if you're going to make that kind of hypothetical, we also got to factor in other things like how much do they cost? How much does it cost to actually house these people? How much does it cost to feed these people, giving them the government benefits? How much are they taking from this country? And then also, they kind of set a floor of wages that are lower. So hold on, let me finish. So there's damage being done by these people to the economy, and there's no real way of measuring the damage they do versus any kind of benefit financially. And if there's tax money being put into the pot, it's nothing compared to the really top earners like your Jeff Bezos and whatnot. Like 1% of this nation pays like half of the taxes. So I don't think it's really going to be a net benefit when you look at it. We could look at the money that they bring and then they give to the government and the government burns in front of our faces. But is it a net benefit? Is it a net positive? I think you could help some corporations with the cheap labor, but the American people are not going to see that benefit, in my humble opinion. Let me give you an example right quick before I wrap it up. and go to the next caller.
I'm not joking.
Springfield, Ohio, okay? 55,000 people in Springfield, Ohio before the migrants came from Haiti. 20,000 of them came from Haiti. Now, a lot of them are working, they're contributing, tax money. Okay, cool. Let's say they don't spend that tax money that they're supposed to earn from their job because they don't claim it. All right, well, how much are we spending on car insurance because they come into the place, they can't drive, no licenses, and the insurance went up 3 times. Also, they need language tutors. You got to educate these children. In New York City, they had to educate 40,000 children. Matter of fact, that's a better example. In New York City, they spent $7 billion on the migrants. Do you think that the migrants generated that much revenue in taxes?
Are we talking about the migrants on the government tip or the working ones?
All of them.
I think I think you can separate that because the ones that do work, they're paying.
Look, but the point is, I'm talking about migrants. Period. All of them. But like the question is very simple. Do you think the migrants in New York City generated $7 billion in tax revenue?
I think in New York City there's an exception.
No. The question is, do you think that they generated $7 billion in revenue? Because the same story, exactly, and the same story is the same thing in Chicago, Illinois, Aurora, Colorado, Springfield, Ohio. They cost more than what we actually get from them. Every year we spend $450 billion with a B, $450 billion on migrants from our taxpayer money. They don't make enough.
Agree.
Exactly. They don't make enough.
Totally agree.
They don't. Hold on. I'm gonna land the plane. Hold on. I'm gonna land the plane right quick.
Okay.
They don't make enough to make up for what we spend on them. That's the bottom line.
I agree. So I can let you go. I know you got other callers. Right. I totally agree. I just think that the government is not reporting what the people are not claiming. And just one more other point. Like in California, I see more American homeless and not migrant homeless. So, I mean, if these guys are coming here without work, it's like, how do they do it? How do they avoid the streets? And I'll let you go. I love your content, and you have a good night.
Thank you for the call, man. Definitely appreciate you. Okay, now to answer his question about how do they avoid the streets? How do they avoid being homeless? First of all, there are plenty of homeless migrants. But second of all, they're given housing. They're given housing. We saw it with New York City. Okay, you have the Roosevelt Hotel, right? You got plenty of homeless in New York City that are American citizens, but when the migrants come here and they're homeless, okay, here's your free hotel room, right, in this beautiful hotel, this historic landmark. They built a building just for migrants in New York City. Just for migrants, a whole brand new building, just for them. They're giving housing. Aurora, Colorado took over a whole apartment complex. They're giving housing. A lot of the housing is being built just for them. They're being given things that the Americans are not given. If Americans were given all these monies, the endless cars never run out, free housing, free this, free this, free this, free that. If Americans didn't need driver's licenses or IDs to drive, then when we get pulled over, you wouldn't have to pay no ticket. You see how that works? Like, they're giving all kinds of preferential treatment because the government is investing in a lower class to be able to do jobs. They're giving them money to be able to do it. They don't give Americans that money. So when the Americans have to actually, you know, find somewhere to live, and nobody's trying to say, here's a brand new house just for you, but they do it for the migrants. And again, money that they generate does not equal the money that we spend. The government says this is a way to try to attack inflation while bringing in a bunch of the migrant workers. That's all that it's about. Did it work? I can't tell. But yeah, shout out to the caller. Good call. Keep it rocking and rolling. Let's go to... All right, what we going to do? We're going to do 208. You don't know. I'm going to speak it to.
Hey, Bill. How are you? It's Tom. Great show tonight, my friend. You touched on a lot of good points. I just wanted to bring something up. Sure, you're probably aware of it. Don't know if your viewers are or not. But Trump has done a great job on eliminating the DEI from the military. You know, hopefully he follows through with the Department of Education. and get it out of our schools. But one thing that happened, I'm pretty involved in the school district where I'm at, and if you remember the CRT, the critical race theory,
Yes.
that was going through the schools, well, where I'm at, we fought against that, and I've got a feeling they're going to do the same thing with the DEI that they did with the CRT. So basically what they did is they took their CRT program and they folded over into a new learning program and still pushed the CRT as saying with one side of their face that they wasn't, and then they were. And so I think that the evil left is going to try the same thing with the DEI, and I just wanted to let the viewers know that we're aware of it. We know what they have planned for where we're at, and we're going to be looking closely for them to, because they're just not going to give up. They just won't. So,
right on. You gotta keep looking out for it. You gotta keep your eyes on it, because, like you said, they're never gonna give up. They're gonna keep on going and going and going. You cannot let up.
No, and what I can tell from my state, because our governor's been on a tour, and I guess the money that the Department of Education gave out to the state, obviously with strings attached. You know, you get this money if you do this DEI, or if you do that. Well, that's no longer going to be a string, but they're going to be fighting over the money to get their programs issued. So I just wanted to put that out there I know there's a lot of patriots on your channel, and they care a lot about kids like I do. So just wanted to remind them, stand fast and watch out.
Right on, man. Absolutely. Thank you for your call. Definitely appreciate you.
You bet. Have a great night, A-Bill. Bye-bye.
All right, great caller. Shout out to the caller. All right, so we're rocking and rolling. The number to call again, 434-658-1220. You guys, of course, are the best audience anywhere on these interwebs. Let's go. 971, your line, pick it two.
Hey, this is your buddy Bugger from Winchell. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. How about yourself?
Hey, I'd like to address that previous callers talking about the illegals paying their fair share. Hey, you know, when they steal the ID of people, their social security numbers and whatnot, they're actually increasing the amount the taxes the other person has to pay, because they might bump them up to a higher tax bracket.
Right.
And how's that fair?
And then, of course, if you're stealing somebody's ID, that's called identity theft. That could be a nightmare for people to have to deal with. So now you're coming in committing crime. That's going to cost money. It's all a bunch of hidden things that people may not see. You can see somebody that has a job, quote unquote, and they contributed money, but what about all the expenses that this person is creating by being here committing crime?
Yeah, it's just crazy. I don't understand how people think that stealing ID is okay. Then also, you know, talking about the illegal aliens, that's called exploitation of labor. So how are they going to, like in California, where they raised up the minimum wage? You know, and now all these people are going to be hiring illegal aliens to lower the practical wages of people, of everyday people. They're counterintuitive. How can they raise minimum wage but then bring in exploitation labor?
It's the craziest thing in the world. I mean, it's all about misdirection. They'll say one thing and then do something else. So, you know, I'm in favor of living wages. We got to pay people a fair share. And then you say, well, we got to bring in the migrants to work for $8 an hour because Americans don't want to do it. It's like, well, which one is it?
Yeah, you can't have one without the other. I mean, you have to have one or the other. You can't be in favor of both. It doesn't make any sense. Like Cesar Chavez, he was every major city now has a street named after him because he was a champion of the American farm workers and getting their wages raised up. And he was dead set against illegal aliens coming in because they lowered the American farm workers' wages. Right. And it's just blasphemous.
Exactly.
And then on closing on that subject, I'd like to, how I always thought of and I was taught about the illegal immigrants would be the jelly bean theory. You've ever heard of that?
I have not. Oh, I've heard about this, actually. I have heard about this.
Yeah, where you got a jar full of 5,000 jelly beans. Boy, they taste real good, but only 100 of them will make you sick, and only 5 of them will kill you. Are you gonna bring that jar of jelly beans home? Are you gonna let your kids eat out of that jar of jelly beans? No, it's ridiculous.
I agree, 100%.
Okay, yeah, and then I want to touch on the California wildfires again, real quick. Being a little older, I remember back in the 70s and 80s. It's when they started going away from forest management, stop the logging and all that stuff. And so I looked up how many major wildfires there's been in the last 100 years or so. So between 1940 or 1950 and 1990, in Washington, Oregon, and California, there was 5 major wildfires. And after a dozen years or so of these new programs, from 1990 to 2024, there was 35 fires.
Wow.
I mean, how do you get an increase that much? I know it's been a population increase, but that can't account for all of that.
Nah, it can't. I mean, that sounds like, to me, a degradation in the fire services, the prevention, the maintenance. There's obviously some problems going on that have happened over the past few years.
Yeah, and it's just, and that's all liberal ideas. So, and hey, and then in closing, just kudos for Trump and everything he's done. And, now obviously the CIA is able to, let their hair down a little bit and say, yeah, maybe the virus did come out of China.
Right. I mean, something that we do from the beginning. Now we can actually, tell the truth openly. That's always a good thing.
I mean, you can do everything I can do.
Yeah,
And so
hey, that's
much
great.
more.
Once again, I appreciate everything that you do, and have a great evening.
Thank you for the call, man. Definitely appreciate you.
Have you ever seen me
Right.
hear anyone?
Shout out to my man for the call. Most certainly appreciate him. But yeah, it comes from China. The number to call 434-658-1220. 323, you're online. Who am I speaking to?
Oh, hold on a second. Bill, how are you?
I'm doing well. About yourself?
Oh?
Yes.
I'm doing great. Couple of things I wanted to comment on in regards to your program tonight. You spoke about UCLA and the Chinese immigrant being deported or whatever she was doing there on campus. Now, I live in Los Angeles, and I'm an alumni of UCLA, class of 1994, Go Blue and Gold. And it was I didn't hear of it until you just spoke of it recently, that this was going on with that arrest. But I thought about when you said that back in, I guess it was the spring or the summer of this year, there was campuses erupting with Palestinian protests. And I said to myself, these are not UCLA students who are doing this stuff because, this is unfathomable. But anyway, so I get why they got that Chinese girl, because she's probably part of I'm just saying, I'm speculating, whatever you want to call it, that she is probably one of those people who were there last summer, or maybe part of that group that's in the incel that's in UCLA right now that's causing all these problems and making all these validations to their cause, whatever you want to call it. And another thing I want to say, this is all DEI stuff, by the way. And the president, our new chancellor, is a DEI guy. His name is Julio Franco. And I got my little magazine, and I was announcing that he's going to be the new chancellor. So I looked him up, and I'm like, okay, this has been almost 20 years, 30 years since I graduated from UCLA, but I've never heard of a Julio being a chancellor. I'm not being racist, but I'm like, a Julio? Okay, so some Julio guys in there now running this campus, and I read about him and his wife, and they all like about this woke stuff. I'm like, okay, there we go, here we are, with this Biden administration stuff going on our campus, and I was really upset about that. And that's it on the UCLA subject. But just last night, across the street of my house, I had a EMT situation going on where there were fire trucks and ambulances pulling up to the person across the street of the house to bring him out. I guess he was going through some type of emergency sickness or whatever. So anyway, a female was there, 3 other males were there, and I was looking at everything, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? The males go in the house, the female's just hanging back by the truck, just standing outside the house, and the 3 males end up dragging I wouldn't say dragging, but he was in a blanket, and they had to lift him into the blanket to get him into wherever he was going. So they had to physically pick him up out the house, bring him outside in a blanket, like maybe I wouldn't call it a body bag, but it kind of looked like that situation. But the males were doing all the work while the female was just standing back there waiting for them to come out the house. I'm like, but her job was, as I saw as they were leaving, was to drive the truck. I'm like, okay, is this DEI or could we associate this type of behavior, or not behavior, but this type of what I'm looking at as like, okay, she can't pick the guy up. She knows she got to hang outside because the guy's got to go in, rescue this guy who's going through an emergency situation. They know he needs to be brought out because he's unconscious when they bring him out, and she can't do anything, as far as strength to get him out of the house. And I'm like, okay, so it's all over the place as far as Los Angeles' DEI stuff that I'm seeing with my own eyes, and I just think that, there are some problems with DEI. I get it. But sometimes it's necessary when it comes to employment, but you can, as this stuff is being brought up and you see things going on around in your life, you think, okay, yeah, Trump has a point. This stuff needs to be looked at, and we need to evaluate how we are handling, everyday situations that could pertain to either me or somebody, like I say, across the street. And so, it's just real. It's very real. And UCLA, I'm very disappointed that they hired this guy because, I'm on the team he's DEI because, like I say, it's 30 years, and I've never, ever seen a chancellor named Julio, and all of my chancellors have been white males, whatever. But now we got this guy from, I don't know where he's from. I think he's from Colombia or whatever. He's a, what I guess you call it, I would say South American type of guy. His wife is from South America, and they believe in all this stuff. I'm like, why are we doing this? I mean, we don't need all this stuff going on because it's just not fair. I mean, because now we got this woman on national news, this Chinese lady being, hauled out of campus. I don't know. And then this guy on, like you said, the guy smoking the vape there in class. Well, that was completely, nobody does that. Nobody does that. I mean, if you got any sense, or common sense, as I like to say, nobody goes to class, starts smoking the vape, and then call out the professor a bad name because they called him out. And it's and he probably got away with it, to make a long story short. I don't know what the outcome was, but he's probably still there doing the same stuff. So it has to stop. And I would say stop, but it needs to be looked at, if nothing else, and evaluated so we don't have to see these things popping up on social media because it's just not right. And people, don't need to be having debates and stuff because why? We got enough things to debate besides these type of, nefarious activities going on. Absolutely. That's all I wanted to say. But I mean, yeah, I talked a lot, but anyway, it is what it is. But I had to say something about that because, like I say, it involved my school, and it was just, I don't know. We need to do something, and I don't know what and how, but it'll never be changed. But but I don't know what Trump can do, but I just don't know. It's crazy, and I hope DEI or whatever it is gets a real look at it, and we can just move on and have real policies in there, and hope the people who get hired, or people who are in our classrooms, or picking up people in emergency situations,
that's right,
are qualified to do the job, and nobody has to be seeing it on social media. Is what I'm trying to say.
Right on. Well, thank you for your call. Definitely appreciate you.
Okay. Bye bye.
All righty. Shout out to the caller, and shout out to you guys for being here. The number to call 434-658-1220. Keep on rocking and rolling. Let's go. 559, you're on line. Who am I speaking to?
ABL, Patrick from California. How's it going?
Everything's good, man. How about yourself?
Good, man. Hey, just a couple quick points. So, pertaining to the gentleman that called in about the illegal paying taxes, yeah, no. If they were paying into the system, I would like to see where that is. What they are paying into is their own country of Mexico. Mexico's #1 economy is tourism, and they do prefer above any other currency American dollars. Why? Because our currency is 20 times more in value than theirs. I don't mean to dox my old man, but so he's got a place in Cabo, right? And he's able to go down there for his retirement, enjoy the rest of his life and his golden years, and God bless him. But he can go down there, and for the same house that would cost him $400,000 here, he could build for 125 down there and have even better products and better building materials that he can put into that home than what he could possibly ever do here. And so my point is, you know, these illegals that come here and work $8 and $12 an hour cash under the table, well, they'll take that American dollars and go back and buy that Lexus in Mexico, or build that house in Mexico, or go, you know, start a business in Mexico, or whatever they want to do with it. And it'll have 20 times more impact on their life there than here. You know, the reason why that we can't do that is because, you know, our system works different. Our government is different. We have to pay taxes, and they don't have to do none of that on the table. It's pure cash for them that they can just take back in bags to their country and live off of all that. So just wanted to put that point across to you, ABL. I don't know if you know, agree or not with that, but anyway, thanks so much for the opportunity, and God bless you, sir. God bless the United States of America. Take care.
Thanks for the call. Definitely appreciate it. Right on point. Taking the money right back to the house. A lot of repatriation, or I don't know what you want to call it, of the monies. A lot of the Western Union activities. I know all about that. I know what y'all be doing over there. So yeah, that's the issue, man. It's just really our country is being fleeced from the inside and out, and it's a problem. And I think we should do something to stop it. I think as Americans, we should do something to stop that process. Don't you think? 559, you're on the line. What's your question?
Okay, my name's Darlene from California.
All righty, what's going on?
Okay, what I want to know, sit down, brother. I want to know about the gas situation with, our lawnmowers and our weed eaters and stuff. We can't buy anything. We have to buy all batteries. And I'm tired, you know, I don't want to buy a battery lawnmower or weed eater. You know what I'm saying? They took it away.
Yeah, that's crazy. So you cannot buy a gas-powered piece of lawn equipment in California? Wow.
No more. It's gone. I went to Home Depot, went to Lowe's. I mean, you know, because I have almost I wanted a riding lawnmower. I mean, and I can't buy a gas one. They're all battery. Then the regular lawnmowers are all battery now. And then I went to Amazon to think I can get one, and they won't send it to me because I live in California.
Oh, wow. That's
so
crazy.
I just thought he took it away. Gavin Newsom's taking it away from us. So there's no more lawn mowers or weed eaters. And I feel like, you know, it's just, California to me is like, it's so like a communist, you know, you know, they're telling me that I can't have this and that in California. I mean, who are you to tell me, Gavin Newsom, what I can buy?
Someone needs a
yeah,
what is a gas lawnmower going to do? I mean, you know, I get, you know, our neighbors, we just use our same old ones now. I mean, out here, I mean, what the heck is going on? That's all I want to know. And I was just wondering if Trump can do anything about it. You know, I don't know if this is the Green New Deal shit. I'm tired of it. I'm sorry, excuse my language, but you know, I live out in the country, so I just don't like this when somebody tells you can't buy something, you know. But that's California. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's really crazy because especially you're in the country area, like you might have a lot of property. How you gonna cut the grass? How you cut the grass with an electric? You need gas. You're gonna need to, like out where I live, we have farms. So how would
the battery operated mowers are very expensive. I mean, they're like over $800. They're more expensive than a gas. I mean, they're double the price now. And then the batteries don't last that long. They only last like an hour. How am I going to do that? I have almost 2 acres. I mean, you know, what the heck? What are we talking about? I mean, it's just so upsetting to me. I'm just I can't believe, I don't know if everybody else, if there's somebody else out there that knows about this, I would, you know, I don't know what to do, but whatever. I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of people that feel the same way I do, but I've never seen anything like it. And I just don't know what they're going to do. They want to take the gas our cars away with gas or all this stuff. I don't want an electric car. I don't want that junk. I don't want a battery one. You know what I'm saying? Okay. But anyway, it just pissed me off. That's all. Because I couldn't get a lawnmower. I couldn't even buy one. I couldn't even order one online. They won't give you one because you live in California.
Are you going to stay or are you going to move?
I don't know what I'm going to do. I really don't. You know, I'm just, my family's all here. You know what I mean? I have friends in Missouri, Springfield, Missouri and stuff. And, you know, they left. They lived in San Diego and they moved to Missouri. They couldn't take California now. It's just too expensive. You know, it's a very expensive place to live. And then you have all the homeless, and they all lay on the ground, and they're always out there naked. They're talking to themselves. I mean, you know, we just have so much crime out here. It's just pathetic, you know. I live out in Madeira, out in the country, but when I have to go to Fresno and stuff, because there's so much homeless, and it's worse than San Francisco, just about. Because I've been to San Francisco, and I thought I was living in. I went there to go see a Lion King show, and oh my God, it was just horrifying there. I mean, it looked like a third world country. And then Fresno's gotten so bad in California that, you know, there's so much homeless. They can't do anything. You know, they keep saying they're putting them up, but they don't. And it's just horrifying. It's horrifying. You know, I've taken pictures of it. My mother's with me, and she just can't believe it, you know. And she's 84 years old, and she's never seen anything like it. And she goes with me to the store, and they want this and that. I bring my German Shepherd with me to the stores and stuff because I'm scared, because I don't know what these guys do. So I have to bring a Shepherd with me because he's my loaded gun. Because I'm scared to death. You know, to even walk down the street. You know, you can't do nothing around here. There's too much crime. Yeah. But, you know, I don't know. But when I go back out in the country here, I'm fine. You know, that's why I'm glad I'm safe out here where I live. But when you go in the city, it's bad. It's bad. But anyway, I don't know. But that's California.
Well, thank you for your call. Definitely appreciate you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, that's crazy. Now, have you guys ever seen a gas power, like a Ryzen gas power? I mean, pardon me. Have you guys ever seen an electric riding mower? I'm gonna show you what these things look like. Hold on.
Only 60 seconds.
I saw the Ego one. I saw the Ego one. Now, let me show you what this thing looks like. Okay, and then the batteries. All right, hold on. Can I go to the store or not? Okay, let's go Ace Hardware. All right, let's get rid of some of this stuff here. Yeah. All right.
Someone needs a snowball
So,
in their face.
this is Ace Hardware.
Don't let them break us.
You just do something right quick. Y'all give me a second.
I am ready to put on a show.
Okay. Now look, this is an Ego mower, 42-inch, 56 volt battery riding mower kit, battery and charger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 batteries, and these batteries are like this big. I have an Ego mower, a regular. I got a small yard. My yard is small. I live in a subdivision. I don't have a big yard, so it's easy to cut the front and the back with a electric mower. Because it's nothing. I don't have acres. And it doesn't last that long. It's about an hour. And that's going to be about the time you need is for my yard, maybe an hour to do the cutting and the edging with the mower, with the weed whacker, whatever. That's about it, 1 hour. And this thing right here, how are you going to really cut acres with that? And this thing is $3,999. Okay, basically $4,000. But a 52-inch, it didn't update it. 0 turn. Well, basically $4,000 for that. and it has 6 batteries. 6 batteries.
30 seconds before you
And you gotta charge each one individually on a charger. Are you gonna have 6 batteries hooked up to your? Is that gonna short your circuit breaker? I feel like it much. The batteries.
Guess you could say we're
How much are the batteries? One battery, $150. Actually, sometimes they're more. I'm seeing one for $200, $300.
2, 1.
The Ego lithium ion, the regular one. Let me see. These things could be a lot. So for those batteries, they're different than the ones in the regular push mower. Those batteries, I'm seeing the 56 volt go for $449, one of them on Amazon. Hold on, let me show you guys something here. I'll show you guys something here. One of these batteries on Amazon.
It's okay. Admit it. You need me.
You looking at what's that? $449 for one of these. For one, $449. And you need 6 of them. So if one of them goes bad, you got to replace it. If 2 go bad or they get stolen, you got to replace it. And it's gonna cost a lot of money. It's crazy. All right, let's keep on going. 310. You don't know how much we can do.
This is Ron from Georgia. Hi, ABL.
All right, and now what's going on?
Oh man, another great week. Man, I was looking at you putting out some batteries for them electric power things. I'm sorry, brother. I'll keep with my gardener. Less work, for me. And he does an excellent job, brother. It's front and back. It takes him about 45 minutes, man. And I get weeks of pleasure out of it. Oh man, I tell you, brother, we had another great week, and one thing I'm just stellar about is the way our government is functioning right now. And I'm telling you, the president put out a memo, and it's happening right on the spot. These people get the memo, they follow through, and that's awesome. Finally getting the wall built and everything. And buddy, just to see the way that the border is under control, loving it. And the way that they're getting the illegals out of here, loving it. We are doing something and making a big difference in America. It's making a big difference. The fact that we can walk down the street without being accosted, one way or the other, man, this is progress. But the thing about it is this, is that, like the Chinese commie that was arrested as college students, we got those all over the campuses, all over the place. They need to look at these people who are starting these protesters on the campus, down with America, up with Hamas, and everything like that. These are people who need to be looked at. These are people that are subverting our country, trying to take over our country, polluting the minds of these young minds are full of mush. These people need to get their minds right. And the thing about it that we're constantly having these people infiltrate their minds with these communist ideas. This is what we need to do. We really need to be looking at this and sending them back up there. If they're here on a student visa, crossing the problem in America, you want to go down with America. I'm sorry, we do have freedom of speech, but you don't have the same freedom here in America that's talking about down with our government. You need to go. You need to go ASAP. That's the thing about it. I'm all for that. And anybody else that's making these threats on, Republicans or anything like that, if you putting yourself out there on the media talking about you're going to kill, you destroy somebody because they Republicans or whomever. You're talking about you want to destroy them because they don't think like you. Hey, these people need to be addressed. We need to have a knock on the door and get their mind right. This is what we need to do. This is need to happen across the country. I'm sorry they
that they feel like this, the way that they want to try to take down our country like this. But I'm sorry, things are happening in a positive manner. And the thing about it is that you notice that even the president right now, this president is calling on the name of the Lord. He's taking time out, praying, wanting to have a prayer for the people, even praying for the news media. Come on now, and they definitely need prayer. But he's praying for them. This is what we need to do. This is what he's doing, and the people are really, I feel, is gravitating towards that. I'm loving to seeing what's happening with the country, and the thing about it is that I can't wait to see you on the front line on the news media. I hope, like I said, you put in your application, but I want to see your hand up, getting a question in, and holding their feet to the fire too, brother. But I just wanted to say this, man. I love you. Keep on doing what you're doing. I love everybody in the chat, Sheree, everybody. You guys are awesome and funny. You just got an awesome podcast, brother. Your channel is awesome. So I really appreciate you, brother, and you just keep on doing what you're doing. God bless. God bless America. God bless you, my brother. Bye-bye.
Thank you for the call. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
All right. Great call. Great call. I got time for maybe one more, and you guys are blowing me up. I'm going to just try to get maybe one more in there. All right. Let's go. Anonymous caller on the line. Who am I speaking to?
Nathan White in San Marcos, California.
All righty. What's going on?
I just wanted to say, I was listening to the last caller, but I was thinking of the Sam Cooke song, Let's Go Back to God. And I live down here in North County, San Diego, and I have a buddy that lives in Arizona, and he works for ICE. He was a Marine, and that's all I have to say. I want to give props to, these guys that are in service. Trump sent 15,000 troops down here in San Diego to lock this thing down, and it's amazing because it was just a floodgate that was open down here. So now it just feels like relief.
So do you feel a difference already?
Oh yeah, I do. So it just seems like things are being done. Things are actually being done. They're not being cast to the wayside. And but I want to give props to the Marines and the men that are working out there, during the night. I'm a plumber, but
you'll need a top-notch team to win this one.
These guys work during the night.
I'm Luna Snow.
Keep us safe.
Like the moon, I shine in darkness.
I just want to give a shout out to the men that are out there keeping this country safe, and our president, and most importantly, God Almighty.
Round one.
That's all I have to say.
Right on, man. Thank you for your call. Appreciate you.
Superpowers are amazing.
Shout out to the caller. Great call.
The ice effects look
Great
great
call.
on stage.
All right. Let's do maybe one or two.
Get ready.
801. You're the line. Who am I speaking to?
Well,
hey, what's up, baby? Yo.
Are you a superhero?
All right, man. What's going on?
Hey,
okay.
Not much.
Chilling
Chilling and listening to your podcast. So one of the callers called in earlier and talked about how illegal aliens were the ones that were working hard with fake IDs and stuff were net positive to the economy. But so I also migrated here legally with my my parents. Pretty much moved here and then gave birth to us, me and my siblings. And so we hang out with a lot of friends that also migrated here, some legally and some illegal. But all the ones that I know that work here illegally, that come here illegally, like they claim 99 or they claim exempt on their
Someone needs a snowball in the
taxes
face.
when they file their when they do their W4s.
Strong together.
And so I don't know if that's a good thing, but I know that ain't. I know that's what they do. That way they can get the full money when they get paid. And then when they file their taxes, a lot of them I know they'll use their friends' kids because you know, like you can only file 3 kids to maximize the child tax credit, and their friends will have like more than 3 kids, so they'll divvy out their kids to the ones that are like what do you call that, here illegally, but with fake IDs and all that social security numbers, and then they'll go and file their friends' kids and get a huge tax return. So to me, man, I see a lot of shady stuff. So I don't know if he took that into consideration, but that's what I see a lot with my friends that are here illegally. But that's besides the fact. Like you brought up a good point with the whole the people that are in the city, because I noticed these are the ones that are like out here in the construction. Out here in the field, but the ones in the cities like Detroit, the Haitians or whatever, they're definitely a net negative to our economy. But I don't know if you heard about this one. The helicopter, one of the pilots was a transgender. I don't know if you brought that up in your podcast, because I was going through like my news feed and saw that one.
I'm back in the fight.
You're breaking up real bad, boss.
Oh shoot.
You good now, though?
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't know if you heard, you saw that one where one of the pilots of the helicopter was a transgender, posting a lot of anti-Trump rhetoric before the whole crash.
I mean, I heard that, but I'm not quite sure if that's true or not. So I have heard it, but I just wanted to verify it before I say something about it.
Yeah, because I was going through my news feed and like a lot of people are posting it, like her whole bio or all her posts or his posts, and like I just thought that was kind of weird. And then when you look at the video, I think it was Officer Tatum who was like counting down. It was like there was like 7 seconds where she or the pilot clearly saw the plane, like you know, they got their landing lights on and everything. Like there's no way they could have missed it, and so it almost looked like it was coordinated, like they wanted to take out the plane. Like, you know, just like you, like I don't want to make any assumptions, but that's the news that's going around like right now, that it was a transgender pilot that posted a lot of anti-Trump posts on his social media. So, you know. But anyways, keep up the good work, bro. Take care.
Thank you for the call, man. Definitely appreciate you. All right, shout out to the caller. Y'all blowing me up today. What's going on? Like, what is really happening? 916 on the line. Who am I speaking to?
Hey, how you doing, sir? My name is Bill.
All righty, what's going on?
Yes, sir.
I am ready to put on a show.
Offer my appreciation. My wife lights up every time your show comes on, and for that reason, for her happiness and for your balanced perspective, I wanted to thank you for everything that you do. With that, I've been a military pilot for 22 years, but retired from the Air Force. Regarding the crash, and giving our deepest sympathies to the victims and to the families who transitioned during this terrible event, wanted to offer a perspective, which is during visual flight rules or visual flight operations. Pilots typically are required to facilitate visual separation, and air traffic control during those scenarios is not required to offer separation between the different aircraft. And when you have an aircraft like a CRJ, a regional aircraft, the swept wing of those aircraft makes it very difficult to maintain that visual separation. So in this situation, it would be very difficult for a pilot, both in the helicopter and the pilot in the regional jet, to visually separate, especially at night. So it's an unfortunate situation. It's one of those reasons why aviation is often written in blood. But again, thank you and my appreciation for everything that you do.
Thank you for the call. Definitely appreciate you.
Snowball fights.
Very good call. Shout out to you guys. I appreciate y'all for checking me out. I really, really do. All right. Y'all are blowing me up so much. It's crazy. I'm gonna take a few more calls, but I can't be up here. I can't be up all night. It's past my bedtime almost. All right. I got a few more. Calling line 52757.
Yes, Mr. Logan. How are you doing this, sir? This is Jeff Big Bob.
All right. Everything is good about yourself.
I'm feeling kind of low. As you know, my wife passed away. But I wanted to ask you a question, and it's going to take thought. Okay, so what is the biggest threat to our country today?
Time to
And
switch things up.
you can say China, you can say Russia,
I'm Luna
or
Snow.
whatever, but
Like the moon.
I actually think it's something
The
else.
right heroes could make all the difference.
All right. What do you think it is?
What is? Well, what is your? I would like your thought.
Okay.
What do you think the biggest threat is?
It's kind of hard to say. My instinct, my gut reaction is artificial intelligence. That's my first reaction. But I'm not quite sure that's what I really wanted to say for my final answer. But that's my gut reaction. Aside from that, I would say just the human beings that live in this country that don't understand a lack of education. And as far as a foreign adversary, I would say China, because China is becoming the dominant big dog in the world, and there's no real way to stop it. I don't see China going in. I don't see them going backward. I see them only going forward.
Well, I agree with you. And can I tell you a real quick story? Real quick.
Okay.
So I was working at MIT. This is back a little while back. And I was walking down Vassar Street. For those of y'all who don't know this, MIT is basically a big triangle. And I was walking down Vassar Street down towards Main Street, past the Sean Collier Memorial. You know who Sean Collier is. And I was walking with a guy named Bob, unfortunately. And I'm like, let's just say I'm a rather blunt man. And, me and Bob were walking down, and we were going to an office there, and I asked Bob, I said, why are all the students Asian? Because they were all Asian. And he told me, because he worked there, he told me, well, they're all sponsored. And I was like, sponsored? What do you mean by sponsored? And oh, by the way, I need to apologize because I've broken one of your rules. And that rule is don't call in with drinking. Okay?
All right.
I've been drinking a little bit. And but anyhow, Bob was like, well, they're all sponsored. And they're paid for by white women. And I was like, oh, what do you mean white women? And he's like, well, these white women who have made money, I don't know how, I don't care, they sponsor these students. So we're walking down, and I just wanted to think. The most dangerous thing, and a lot of you people in the chat are going to roast me, and I don't care. The most dangerous thing in my mind is a white woman who has fun. And I don't think he's probably ever thought about that or
I'm making a comeback.
ever given that a passing thought. But that's just what I think.
1-2-2.
And what are your thoughts on that, sir?
I never thought about that. That's definitely a point to make. That's definitely a problem. I see it as a problem. I see it on television. I see it in the corporate workspace. DEI, really, that's kind of the main recipients of that are white women. So I see where you're coming from.
Well, I'm sorry to bother you, and I'm just I want to tell you that, you know, I watch you all the time. I watch you on Wednesdays. I watch you, by the way, catch him on Wednesdays, and go to his website, ablmerch.com, and get you a hat. And I just wanted to thank you for, I don't know, listening to an old drunk guy sitting alone in the dark and hearing my thoughts. You have a nice evening, sir.
Thank you for the call, Bob. Definitely appreciate you.
All right, goodbye.
All right, shout out to Bob. Y'all give it up. Round of applause for Bob. And shout out to everybody that's been calling in tonight. I really, really appreciate y'all. I promise I'm gonna take one more. You're online speaker to 617.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm dying laughing with the fist pump you just did. This is Jenna from West Virginia. I'm going to hopefully keep this really short and sweet. I think you said you applied for the new media pass for the White House.
Yes.
Awesome. So, of course, it's a rotating seat. So, depending on, like, when you were to get called in, and, like, ABL, there's a seat for you today. If it were a slow news week and there's not